Hi. Hi, I'm here. I'm here. I'm queer. You're all definitely used to it. Hi, everybody. It's new month, new issue of Interactive Entertainment of 14. I want to thank everybody here for showing up. Hey, Margarine, Savorix, Clip, Randall, Michelle, Pamela Lyons. Also, I got folks to thank. Let me do that real quick as well. Thank you. Itinerant Soldier, 17-month resub, and that's the way it is. Why am I talking like this? Hey, Coffee Kindred. Hey, I got popes to thank. No, I don't. I'm not thanking a single pope. Except the Pope who did Vatican II. That was pretty all right. Thank you, Scratching Way, for the 17-month resub. Do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vagrant Wastrel, for the 17-month resub as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Michelle Pamela Lyons. 100-bit donation. Herman, you gotta think. No, yeah. I mean, I think in capital letters. Yeah, think. Yeah, on its own. No, you don't need an exclamation mark. Yes, on a sign, on its own. Thank you so much, Michelle Pamela Lyons. Thank you, everyone, for your support. I do appreciate that. So yeah, new month, new issue of Interactive Entertainment 14. This one's June 1995, and we'll get with it in 1 second. But folks, you know what time it is. I love that so much. I need to redraw that as me, like me as Mariah Carey, but I'm not that good at art, so I'll have to wait till I can commission someone. But yeah. It's very bleak today, folks. So HEB put a lot of their, I guess, not selling smoothies on sale. And a lot of their smoothies are just straight up half off. And like, you know, the stuff that you buy, like Bolt House Farms and Naked Juice, that kind of stuff. So here's the funny thing. I was going to buy one of the half off ones. And, every single half off smoothie was sold out except for a single one, and this one has not sold out for weeks, folks. Here we go. This is from Bolt House Farms, and it's waking me up like a bolt in the night. No, that's not it. That's the tweet. It's this. Okay, no one wants this at the store. It is like, there are so many of these. These are not selling out. All the other protein drinks, all the other smoothies sold out. This, no. Now, again, I'm of two minds. It might be good. It could be good. Mangonada is not bad. I actually like it. I like mango. I love tahini. Tahini is one of my favorite things. Tahini on melon is just like... I was about to say it's like God shooting you in the head with a bullet, but that sounds fucked up. It's really good, though. It's really... okay. I'm putting it off because I don't want to do this. But first, I didn't check the ingredients to make sure it didn't have soy in it. I can't have soy protein, unfortunately. It makes me sick. Oh, darn. No soy. Okay. I gotta have this. I do love tahini. Tahini is so good. And I like mangoes, and I like... I just don't know about this one. I'm sorry. I wish I knew... Man, okay, so I wish I liked soy, because I think tofu tastes great, but unfortunately, soy with high protein soy protein isolate, tofu, stuff like that, it makes my tummy go crazy. It's really sad. I don't want this. But okay, so I open it up and it smells like mango. The scent of mango is filling the air. And that's good. I like mango. I think mango is really good in smoothies. And I can see a bunch of little flecks of tahini in this. Bolt House usually does good things. Okay, I'm putting this off too much. I'm 4 minutes into the stream and I just keep talking. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Strong on the mango, but it tastes like a fake mango. Not really a negative, but the mango tastes a little artificial, which is absolutely bonkers. How do you do that? It's made with mango. It's also got apple juice. What is making this taste so strange? Is it the tahini? It's not that. It must be the gum because it's got gums inside of it. So that could be it. Maybe the salt. I don't know. Yeah, it's not good, but it's not bad. It's kind of in a middle area, but it tastes more like mango candy or like sugar-free mango than real mango, which is so weird because it's got mango in it. Krungo Kong, okay. So the thing about last week's drink, to bring up kin euphorics again, if you look up stuff about kin euphorics, so much of the search results are teens on Reddit being like, this'll get you high. And a lot of people convincing themselves that they're totally getting high off of the kin euphorics drinks. Having had one, no, you're not. You are not getting yourself, you do not feel high in any way when you have a kin euphorics. You do not have any highs. It tastes like, if you're getting high off of kin euphorics, I've got some oregano I want to sell you, okay? Because, God, it's really funny. It's like, it'll get you feeling buzzed. No, it won't. Yeah, it absolutely won't. But again, if anyone who thinks that kin euphorics can get you high, I've got a lot of totally real stuff to sell you. I got some oregano. I've got some artisanal oregano, if you know what I mean. I got some sage. You can smoke that. How about some lavender? You like that? It'll get you. Man, it's like in the 60s when, yeah, like banana peels. People used to literally think smoking banana peels would get you high. That was another thing that teens convinced themselves of. I think that was in the 60s, which is so good. Teens never stop trying to get high off of shit that won't get you high. All right, folks, I better get to it. I had one sip of this. I will have more. But I kind of wish it was more tahini flavored. There's not a lot of tahini. It does have a lot of iron. Actually, shit, I could have used that when I was donating blood. Your friends did the banana peel thing in the 90s? That's so good. Oh, I'm so glad that some traditions never change, including pretending or totally assuming you can get high off of things that can't get you high. All right. I've got a lot of drinks on my table today, so I gotta move my mango. There we go. All right, folks, you know what time it is. It's time for our friend Xena. Oh, oops. I'm always saying oops during these streams. There we go. It's time for our friend Xena to tell us about the newest games for your PC and Amiga and console. Actually, I don't think they've ever done anything about I don't think I've ever seen an interactive arcade review of the Amiga. Well, never mind. All right. No. There we go. It's funny that these aren't in alphabetical order. They should be.
Welcome to episode 14 of IE. This month we bring you an early look at the hottest sequel of '95, Warcraft 2. And straight from the leading edge of immersive games technology comes our company profile of Looking Glass Technologies. And last but not least, our interview subject is the mind behind the strategy and impressions, David Less.
All right. So we got a lot to go through, but you know where we got to start. We got to start the letters to the editor. The report from South Africa. Actually, I want to read this. Hi there. I was just reading the letters in edition 12 and thoroughly approved of a comment you made when comparing CGW's reviews to yours. Want hardware reviews? Read a PC magazine. They'll do a far superior job to any gaming mag, or something along that line. I'm so glad you have taken that stance. I subscribe to IE to get in-depth game reviews by other gamers who happen to be able to express themselves well when talking about a game. Unfortunately, PC Power, a UK gaming mag, doesn't feel the same way and have started branching out. I don't know how they expect to compete with other PC mags such as Computer Week, PC Magazine, Byte Magazine. Anyway, that's why they won't be getting a subs renewal, but you will. On to other matters. Thanks for the tip on the demo mode. I'll be using that quite often in the future. I also really enjoyed the background music in the review of Iron Assault. I think it was that preview. Could you do the same on the others? Maybe play the theme tune during the review? One thing I've never understood. Why previews? I know that in the apps I write are often vastly different in looks, if nothing else, than how they started out. Surely you're really wasting your time? I mean, you can't really tell what a game's going to be like until it's actually shelfware. I can understand from the publisher's point of view, they want to create a demand for their product. But to do a review on an unfinished product has never made sense to me. Here's a really hot topic. Oh shit, here we go. What about ratings? I know that many people are vehemently against them, but then they just mustn't look at them. Maybe give a rating for each category and then an overall rating. Another nice touch would be to have all the reviewers chipping in a sentence or two about what stood out to them and their ratings. It gives a broader feel for the game. If only one reviewer looks at a game and it's an adventure and she's an ardent arcade lover, it's a bit unfair to all the adventure game lovers out there. Lastly, what about more dual reviewer reviews? I enjoy the interaction and exchange of thoughts, one-ups, and put-downs very much. One voice can get a bit monotonous and bland. Maybe have two opposing points of view, with the reviewers arguing it out and showing parts of the game to back their viewpoints. Well, that's all for me. I try to be constructive in my criticism. I hope that's come through, because I'd hate you to get the idea that I'm not impressed. I am. As I said, that's why you'll be getting the subs renewal. DM Digitech Online, South Africa, via internet. Hi yourself. Nice to hear from the other side of the world for a change. Hardware reviews. Don't get me wrong. I think that certain types of hardware reviews are appropriate for a gaming mag. Those game-related peripherals that regular PC mags can't cover quite as in-depth as we can. E.g. joysticks, 6D controllers, maybe VR helmets, etc. I'd like to do those, but we just haven't figured out a format yet that wouldn't suck. Maybe you've noticed that we have to be a little more graphically intensive than paper mags. One cheesy scanned slide and 4 columns of text just won't cut it. Music in the reviews. Actually, I think we're doing this more often than not these days. I'm glad you like it. Previews. We do previews because everybody else does them. Okay, that's not a very good reason, though it has a grain of truth to it. We do previews because I think that not every gamer feels the way you do. Most of us, I admit that I include myself in this manner, like to have a hint of what's coming up. I like getting excited about the pending release of a game I suspect I'm going to have a lot of fun with. Yes, most of these games change radically from the time we preview them to release. We expect that. Boy, do I wish certain game companies would get that through their heads. Incidentally, previews are not the same as reviews. Previews are objective looks at what's going on into the development of a game, speculation, and hype. Reviews are a subjective statement of our opinion of a game, intended as advice to you as to whether or not you should buy the product. Ratings. Never! Not unless 80% of our viewership mail bombs us to change our minds on this. But in our experience, if you attach ratings to articles, people will get into the habit of simply looking at the ratings instead of reading the articles. We are often catching each other doing this here in the office with PC Gamer and Computer Gaming World. We just find the notion counterproductive, which isn't to say, however, that we don't rate the games we review. We just haven't published those ratings yet. What we plan to do, once the article index is up and running, is to include the game ratings in the index. Hey, Nervous, welcome. Hi, Cantrip, welcome. To voice reviews. I'm glad you said this. I've had many people tell me that they hate two-voice articles, and I always protest, no, lots of people like them. As for doing more two-voicers, I'll let you in on some inside info that you could probably figure out if you looked closely enough. Previews are always in one voice. The only reviews that have not been in two voices were a sort of short format that was used for not quite as important releases, pinball titles, card games, or ever-dwindling coverage of video games, etc. We are in the process of abolishing this short article format and finding a different way to cover this stuff, he said, hinting at the resurrection of columns. Therefore, in the future, all of our reviews will be two-voicers, says TK. Hey, Adam! Entertainment's going good. We got a guy from South Africa who was talking about stuff. Anyways, I got Deathgate. Where's my IE? First, I want you to know that episode 9 was the first IE magazine I've gotten, and I'm still in awe of the level of multimedia experience you have achieved. However, I have a little problem. On your review of Deathgate by Legend, you stated that it came with a limited special edition of IE. When I got the game, which I really like, I looked and looked but couldn't find no trace of IE on the CD. Anyway, I'd like to know what happened. Thank you, Nest W, for the 17-month resub. Appreciate that. And that is JM via CompuServe. Actually, what Legend did was bundle copies of IE with the first 30,000 copies of Deathgate they sold. If you didn't happen to get one, you're out of luck, I'm afraid. However, the copy that was bundled with Deathgate was merely a repress of an earlier episode with some additional demos and Legend stuff added from the other episodes. Don't sweat it. You haven't missed out on anything. If we ever do run promotions where there will be a one-of-a-kind collector's edition IE available, we will try to let you know. Keep your eyes on the letter section. Okay. CompuServe does not still exist as far as I can tell, but yeah, I don't know if this is episode or issues. They call them episodes. I call them issues. It's very confusing. Good call on Alien Legacy. Dear IE, excellent product. The majority of your reviews are right on. You said Alien Legacy was a winner, and I couldn't agree more. It is unusual for me to buy such an old game, 4 or 5 months old, but I trusted your review. However, Frontline's Impressions was a real turkey, which I think you gravely overrated. I would definitely like to see and hear some specialization in your mag. For instance, it would be helpful having a specialist in, say, wargaming to give an in-depth review and strategy lecture on a particular product. Even older games like the V4V series could be substrate for such a column. Computer Gaming, World Strategy Plus, and PC Gamer all implement this approach successfully, and it appears that your publication is rapidly attaining the stature and reputation of these 3 gaming magazines. It is okay to follow their lead in this, since you lead them in many other areas. BTW, I haven't subscribed yet because I'm waiting to see how your magazine develops. I will be subscribing very soon. Sincerely, BF, CompuServe, Aurora, Colorado. Just detaining the status of the other gaming mags out there. Bummer. That's like the other day, someone sent us a letter saying we were easily as funny as Saturday Night Live. Ouch! Actually, as a rule, we do try to assign reviews to writers who play the type of games they are reviewing normally. So the guy who reviews action games likes to play action games. Same for strategy, adventure, and so on. Whether we'll be doing columns like the ones you refer to is still up in the air. I'd like to expand the scope of our news to encompass this kind of information, but we'll see what happens. TK. I love Commander Blood. IE was a monthly magazine. It came out once a month. We've done 14 of them. That's 14 months. I love Commander Blood. 2747774.1625.com. Subject: thanks for the recommendation. I was intrigued by your favorable reviews of Commander Blood and decided to spend the bucks and break my long-standing Mindscape, formerly known as the Software Toolworks, boycott. This game is wild. I'm as impressed as you were with the bizarre storyline and amazing presentation. I haven't played the game for too long, but I enjoyed savoring it, just as I do Dark Forces. I'd like to play maybe an hour or two a week and then look forward to coming back to it. Anyway, thanks for convincing me to buy Commander Blood. I had seen it at the store and passed over it because of the publisher. Maybe this is a sign that Mindscape will actually care about their future releases? Nah. SJ from AOL via Internet. I'm glad they like Commander Blood. Commander Blood is very interesting. We played that during a patron request gauntlet, I think. Actually, from what we've seen, the other magazine's reviews of Commander Blood, most people just didn't get it. Everyone who's played it here has found it fun and addictive. Gosh, rewarding a game for good gameplay. Who would have thunk it? You'd almost might think we were a review mag or something. I'm glad it worked out well for you. Actually, from a historical standpoint, I haven't liked Software Toolworks games that much either, but in the past year or so, they really seem to be getting their act together. Mega Race, Ultimate Domain, and Legions were all pretty decent. Metal Marines was downright fun, and Dragon Lore was, IMHO, very good. And wait till you see their lineup for the rest of 95. The Endure Words Upon Airs. The manual for this game reminds me of the infamous work of Pedro Carolino, who in 1883 published an English-Portuguese phrase book despite having no command of the English language and lacking a Portuguese to English dictionary, had resort to using Portuguese to French and French to English dictionaries. The resulting handbook, recently republishes The English as She Is Spoke, includes a dedication that reads in part, "We expect them, who the little book, for the care what we wrote him, and for her typographical correction, and may be worth the acceptation of the studious persons, and especially of the youth, at which we dedicate him particularly." Oh, I don't expect you guys to clean up translations. The game itself includes a few winners during the interminable options screen. It does rather defeat the copy protection scheme if you don't lay the damn thing out with the proper page breaks and line turns. Can you perhaps email me a corrected WRI file or put a corrected file on the next CD before it goes out? That game looks like it might be modestly entertaining hour or two, and I'd hate to think I went through 16 pages of setup options without getting a single turn. Thanks, buckets, and keep spinning those discs. Got a name here? Nope, anonymous. We received countless letters on our little slip-up, but this is by far the funniest. To all of those who are inconvenienced by the copy protection problems for heirs to the throne, I apologize, and thank you for your patience. If you haven't yet gotten the corrected code sheet, please fax, call, or email us at the number shown below, and we'll get that out to you ASAP. Incidentally, you should know that if you don't need to change the pre-selections, you can just click the last number in the row on the setup screen and click the right arrow to jump to the startup screen. Hope that helps. Yeah, keep spinning those discs. I'm going to be saying that a lot. The last word on letters. Why are there so few letters this month? You, sitting there looking at the puny letter columns this month. I'm running all the letters you folks send me, but unless you ask me not to. What, are you getting lazy or something? Surely we're doing something you can complain about. Haven't we insulted your politics, your religious beliefs, or your sexual preferences? Well, let's hear about it, right? Email or fax, whatever, just do it! All right, they need their letters. Okay, actually, I want to see what patches and upgrades we got this month.
All patches and upgrades are supplied as is without warranty of any kind, either expressed or implied. The entire risk as to the result of any performance of any program is assumed by you.
I'm going to keep spinning those discs, baby. Wow, they got a lot here. Dune 2 sound patch. Sexy. I wonder what the Dune 2 sound... Gabriel Knight CD-ROM patch. Nice. Mega Race. Merchant Prince. Damn, they got a lot of patches here. We got the Russian six-pack patch. All right, let's go to featured articles. Let's start with Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness.
Warcraft was one of the biggest strategy game hits of 1994.
It was.
It combined building with combat in a fantasy setting and wrapped it all up with frantic real-time play. Now Blizzard is preparing to expand upon that success with Warcraft 2. We recently had a chance to talk with creative director Ron Millar to find out why Warcraft and Dune 2 fans will be invading software stores this December. Warcraft 2 will run on a different but similar engine to its predecessor.
Okay.
The graphics have been bumped up to SVGA,
that.
giving the units more detail and allowing you to see more terrain.
Sorry
That's a
about
good
that.
thing,
Thank you for the
Warcraft
notice.
2
Yeah, I
will
got
be
it.
4 times larger than before. A map editor will be included with the game, along with a unit editor that will have a somewhat wider scope than that of the first Warcraft. The most commonly requested addition for Warcraft's sequel has been more races, elves and dwarves in particular. Adding complete races would have taken up too much memory. So instead, the orcs and humans will get
that's my
allies
fault.
to bolster
I
their
quite
ranks.
often
The way
forget
we
to
dealt with the
unmute
races,
desktop.
We couldn't really fit 4 entire races in and all their units and buildings. We
Is
sort
he
of
in a helicopter?
intermixed
Listen.
The races. The human side is more like the human allies. They have dwarves and elves and humans all working together. And as you progress in the game, you'll start to see more and more elves, more dwarves. Like the first thing you come across would be like an elfish archer. That's how we sort of, put the races in like that. On the orc side, they have ogres and trolls. In place of the spearman, we have these troll axe throwers, and in place of the wolf riders on their side, we have ogres. So like we're starting at the land units and the ships out on the ocean are taking on the different races, even though it's sort of the same side. It's more of an allies kind of thing now.
Keeping the game down to 2 main races is allowing the design team to add a host of new features. One of the most important of these will be the addition of water as a major part of the terrain.
We actually toyed with the idea of doing another mostly land-based game with just the 4 races, but we wanted to expand the world more than just the races, so we decided to go with water. The water adds ships and other units like that. It takes up the space that would normally take up the space for the elves and the dwarves. We decided we just wanted to go with more of a broader, realer world than just races.
The economic side of
It would
Warcraft
sound good
is
with the
also
doubled
due to some
audio.
expansion. In addition to gold and lumber, you must also seek out ore on the land. The seas will also be valuable, for underneath the waves lies a 4th resource, oil.
Oil is going to be handled a little differently to some of the other resources.
Okay.
You actually have to build a
All right,
oil
having
tanker
more of my
or
mango
like
nada.
a water peon. It would go out into the water, and it you ping for oil. You kind of cast a spell. A little radar map shows you where the densities of oil are out in the water. Then you build an oil platform, and the oil platform, once it's constructed, the oil tankers can hook up to it, kind of like a mine. They
That's
take the oil
spicy.
off it, and they bring it back
Not
to
too
the shore
spicy,
where an oil refinery refines
but
it. And what that
I
really
shook it
does,
up a little bit,
sort of
and now
similar
it's way
to,
spicier.
Gold mine. It would go to the gold mine, take gold, bring it back to the town hall, and you'd get gold as soon as it reaches the town hall. Same kind of principle out in the water.
Naturally, you'll need ships to defend your oil interests and your coastal cities.
All right, the
Also,
Mangonada,
larger
much
maps will
better
make
if you
troop
shake it
deployment
up.
an even greater concern, and ships will come in handy here as well. Naval warfare is brewing.
The first ship is an oil tanker. It's like the CP on.
That ship looks so fit. You can't put a house on a ship. Fuck off.
Kind of an anti-sub light attack vehicle. Right after that, there's a battleship.
Ron Miller, huh? Head of VR chat.
Vehicle, a little slower, but a lot more powerful weapon. We have a transport. It's the only one that can actually transport things around on it. Once they're on board, they can't.
It's a
really do anything.
houseboat.
Sort of
You're
lock
right.
the whole-
Okay, it's a
That ship
houseboat.
sinks, they all
That's
go down
fair.
with it. So you really have to protect your transports.
In Warcraft, you were limited to one town per player, and you
That
could only
sucks.
build adjacent to a road.
Boo.
Neither of these stipulations will hold true in the sequel. In Warcraft 2, you will be able to build anywhere you can move a grunt to, allowing
Yes,
you to
it
set
does
up
say
multiple
shake
towns
before
on different land
drinking.
masses. Also, a fog of
I'm
war
normal.
effect will keep
I
your
know-
overhead
it
map
says-
from revealing enemy movement unless your opponent's troops cross your line of sight. The old strategy of exploring and retreating just won't cut it anymore. In the first game, you could upgrade some of your buildings to give yourself
should've
stronger
known to
weapons,
shake it.
better defenses, and faster horses. In the sequel, upgrading your buildings can actually give your units new abilities, including magic.
And now, the buildings kind of progress differently, too. You start off with the regular footman, like a soldier, the elvish archer, and then right after that, you progress to knights. To get knights, though, you need to upgrade your town hall twice to a castle, and various other buildings you have to get to. Once you have a knight, he sort of stays around for a while, then after a while, when you get some more buildings, he upgrades to a paladin, and the paladin has clerical spells, so he sort of takes place for a cleric in it.
Another aspect of the first game that will be greatly expanded is magic. Spells were invaluable in the first Warcraft, and its sequel will include a host of new magics that can affect the terrain as well as units.
You
When's
might
it gonna
cast
include
explosive
gay
runes on the ground,
elves?
and only your team would see the magical effect of that. Another team that walked onto that area, they would explode, kind of like a trap. Another one of those ideas was a drain magic board. So the same kind of idea, but when someone else's wizard walked into the area, it would drain all its magic, or any magical beings that were summoned up, their magic would get drained down really rapidly, and then it would fizzle out, the spell. But some other concepts were locusts. Those would eat through your trees. Fear, mind control. One other idea was illusion. You would cast it on one of your characters, and all of a sudden there'd be 5 of them.
One unit that will get handled quite differently in the new game is the catapult. In the first Warcraft, the catapult was treated like any other unit. In Warcraft 2, the catapult must be manned by one grunt who moves and fires the siege engine.
Yeah,
This
it's.
has
I
a
don't
very
know what
fun
the
and
helicopter
unnerving
noise is
side to it.
from.
Kill the grunt, and you can capture your opponent's siege engine, assign one of your grunts to it, and turn it against its original owner. If you're like us, you've already got friends you're dying to do that to.
Oh,
Finally,
yeah.
Warcraft
I
2
love
will
turning my
feature an
friends into
expanded
orcs.
multiplayer game as well. At least 4 players will be able to compete on a net, with the possibility of up to 7.
Just seemed
The
like
maximum
another
number
sad
of players
case
isn't a
of
technical
people killing
problem,
each
but a
other.
gameplay issue.
We're going to attempt to have 7 people, up to 7 people playing at a time. We're not exactly sure how feasible that's going to be on the maps. I mean, that might be I don't think it's going to be a technical issue, more or less a gameplay issue. If there's 7 people all playing on a map, are they going to bump into one another? Is there going to be too much chaos,
If too
You
much
know.
chaos sounds like a lot
Look
of fun
at that
to you,
dragon.
Warcraft
Oh
2
my
will be just
God,
what
I
you're looking
love
for.
them.
Nearly every aspect of the original game is being enhanced or
They
expanded.
look like they're made out of wicker
Warcraft 2 is scheduled to ship in
baskets.
December, so until then you can count the days and drool. And
He-
watch for more coverage
he looks
in
like he's
future
from Pier
episodes of
1.
IE.
All right, what other featured articles do we... Hello? There we go. What other featured articles do we have? Sorry about the audio doubling again. I keep forgetting that I set up the Retro Arch audio separately, but no, every stream I forget that. All right, we're going to look at the making of Primal Rage. We're going to see some good dinosaurs.
In the fall of 1994, Atari unleashed Primal Rage in the arcades, a fighting game featuring 7 highly realistic dinosaur gods. Time Warner Interactive is currently preparing another Primal Rage Blitz. This fall, they'll release the home version on 11 different platforms. With the home invasion drawing near, we decided
Yeah,
to take a
Primal
look at how the
Rag.
stunning characters of the arcade version came into being.
It's the
process
Primal
of creating
Rag.
the creatures started with the director of animation, Jason Long. Jason created the characters in their first visual form, sketches. Once the look of the creatures had been decided, it was time to animate them. To make the dinosaurs stand apart from other fighting game characters, it was decided that they would be brought to life through a proprietary new stop-motion technique. Stop-motion photography had been used
Cool,
in movies for
like this
years,
guy.
but it had never been used in a video game on such a
No,
massive
I
scale
don't
as
play
in
I
Primal
don't
Rage.
like playing
Working from
Primal
Jason
Rage,
Long's
but it
art,
has an
movie
insane
animator Dan
aesthetic.
Platt
It's
turned each
so
character
good.
into a clay model. From the clay model, a mold was made. An armature, a posable skeleton, was placed inside the mold, which was then filled with whipped latex and baked to create the puppet. Once the latex puppets were formed, it was time to paint them.
Look at that!
Colors and details like stripes were airbrushed onto the latex skin of each puppet. Each character was painted to reflect its background and special moves.
Look at that
Blizzard,
beautiful blue
the
ape.
Himalayan ape character, was painted primarily in white and light blue to match his Arctic homeland and his cold-based special moves, while the T-Rex Diablo was painted in bright reds to match his fiery powers. After the models were painted, it was time to add the finishing details of their appearance. Hair was glued onto the puppets by hand, giving Blizzard his white mohawk. Glass eyes were added, and molded teeth set into the jaws. In Armadon's case, spikes were added in by hand as well. Once this stage was complete, the models were ready to be animated. The real genius of stop-motion models lay under their brightly painted skin.
Oh.
Each used a specifically designed armature which allows the photographer to make minute changes in the model's stance. Stop-motion models used in movies use armatures made up of ball and socket joints, but the puppets for Primal Rage required increased flexibility, so improved joints were invented specifically for this project. Once the models were finished, they went to stop-motion photographer Pete Kleinow, whose previous animation projects include Gumby and Sam Raimi's Army of Darkness.
Gumby!
Tiny adjustments to the model
Holy
stance were made
shit!
for each
We got
frame of
Gumby
photography.
people working on Primal
Making
Rage?
one move look fluid requires nearly 100 frames of animation. Each character has about 70
Shit,
sequences
maybe I like
for a
Primal
total
Rage
of over
now.
400 moves in the game, requiring upwards of 40,000 frames of animation. A lot of painstaking work went into the making of Primal Rage, which is made obvious
Wow.
as soon as you start playing. Not only does the game have top-notch fighting action, but the characters move beautifully and have a 3D look that can only come from real models. Since Time Warner Interactive is releasing Primal Rage for just about every system except the Intellivision, you'll have no excuse not to play.
All right, so Primal Rage looking pretty sick. Anyways, let's review David Lester.
David Lester went from being a computer game critic to founding his own strategy game company, Impressions. He's still president of the company, which has moved from London to Boston, Massachusetts. In this IE interview, David talked with us about Impressions, its beginnings, the differences between European and American games, and plans for the future.
All right, let's interview David Lester. So I want to do another report on the Mangonada. I did shake it up. I did drink it when it was shaken up, which is what I should have done in the first place. I don't know why I didn't give it a good shake initially. Once it's shaken up, it is pretty good. It is like if you like spicy mango, it's good. I'm not usually one for spicy and creamy together, but as far as smoothies go, this is pretty good for being a little spicy smoothie. So, mangonada with tahini, acceptable. Anyways, how did Impressions get started?
Impressions was set up by me and somebody called Edward Grabowski with some friends and family supporting in the background in 1988 as a hobby company. We thought that we could produce games that were better than some of what was being put out at the time, which was mainly coin-op and movie licensed arcade games, and we thought there was some scope for more originality in products than was happening there.
And what was the first Impressions game?
Our very first published title was a game called Raider, which was an arcade-style game for the Amiga. It involved a spaceship, kind of like the one seen in Asteroids, with the same rotate left, rotate right, and thrust with gravity. But you had to sort of move through different caverns and levels and spaceships, space stations, to try to collect different pods and shoot things that got in your way. And there were very different sort of opening doors and things that would different puzzle elements to solve within that. But it was quite a different style of product from what we'd put out today.
And what were Impression's first big hits?
First big hit was probably Airbucks. A game about running an airline. A big hit is relative, and what constituted a big hit for us then does not constitute a big hit for us today. But certainly that was our biggest hit over here. Our first major hit over here was Caesar, which
I
is
can't
extremely
get over
well
how
won lots of
fancy
awards,
this guy is.
and
He's
I think
so
put us on the map in
professional.
terms of gameplay for a lot of
Might be
people.
the accent. How did Caesar 2 differ from the original?
Take Caesar 1 today and say, well, this is a very good game, but what was wrong with it? I think there were a number of things. I think the interface was poor with hindsight. I think the graphics were okay with hindsight, and I think that the combat model in the game was really frankly pathetic.
Frankly
you don't like
pathetic.
to use a word like that, but with hindsight, that's certainly, I think, the case. And all three of those elements have been radically upgraded.
What are the graphic highlights of Caesar
We're
2?
using a lot of 3D rendered graphics. There are, with Caesar 2, there are different zooming levels, so you can see buildings in more close-up if you wish to. There's a lot more animation going on at that city level, so you'll see groups of soldiers marching around, you'll see people pulling carts around, walking around, going about their everyday business.
And is the upcoming Breach 3 anything like XCOM?
XCOM is a wonderful product. Breach 3 is a different product, and they compete only really in the sense that they're squad level games set in space.
How does the personality element come into play in Breach 3?
For example, you might give somebody instruction to move forward towards an objective, and you can give them that command with one of three moods. Either do not fire, hold fire, or fire if fired upon, or fire if you get a chance to. And you may well find that you want someone to go and shoot a certain particular alien, but along the way, while going towards that, this Marine sees an alternative target and decides to go for it. Or this Marine happens to be a bit of a coward and decides that his target that he's been given is a little bit too much for him, and he's going to avoid that, and he won't.
Cool, I'm a coward. What was Impression's first US release?
First stateside release was a game called Air Force Commander, which we had enhanced and adjusted from the European product, which we called Fighter Command. It was a game of running an air force where in an air-only war. It was a bit of an abstracted situation, but we thought it'd be a lot of fun.
Did you plan to tackle the American market when you first started Impressions?
When we began in '88, we just thought we would have some fun. It soon became clear within a couple of years that having some fun was fine, but the business of developing games and publishing them is not just a fun thing. You had to take it very seriously indeed, and it is fun, and we try very hard here to have a lot of fun, but you need to take it.
All right, and what separates American computer game from a European one?
A lot of it relates to interface. People bandy about words like intuitiveness, feedback, visual feedback, instant gratification, a lot of broad concepts. What it often boils down to is not having something take 3 or 4 mouse clicks when 1 mouse click will do.
All right, reduce mouse clips. What do you think of labeling of your games as spreadsheets with graphics?
I don't like that description, but I
No
think
shit, I
for
wouldn't
some of
like
our products in the past, it's probably fairly accurate. And I think that going forward, you'll see much less of that.
Aww, why has Impressions had such an image problem lately?
That's probably our fault. I mean, I think it's up to us to portray the right image, and I think that we're now much more careful about letting people think things if we think that's going to be misleading.
That's so strange. What is their reputation? Anyways, why are Americans pickier about game graphics than Europeans?
The American market has been a PC market for so long now, whereas the European market is only really just becoming a PC market. So up until about 18 months, 2 years ago, most games in Europe were low res, running in an Amiga 500. And just PC conversions of that. And I think if you look at many of the European products that are still coming over today from some of the companies there, you'll still find those same issues apply.
Why does Impressions sell primarily strategy games?
Quickly learnt to specialize in strategy games as soon as it became clear that the investment in technology we would have to have made to retain a decent position in the arcade market was greater than we wanted to invest at that time, and that our love, mine and Edward's, was much more on the strategy side. We both played strategy games more than the arcade games.
All right. Has Impressions changed its development style over the years?
Very much so. A vast majority of our work is now done in-house over here in the States today, with Americans, most of whom are diehard strategy gamers themselves. 2.5 years ago, most of our development work was done by freelance development houses and people in the UK and Europe, rather than over here. I think that's significant.
Were there any early computer games that influenced your current products?
There was a peculiarly British computer over there called the BBC
It is a
Micro
Misfits haircut. It's
Model
such
D,
a strange haircut. I love it. I haven't wanted to say anything because I'm balding, so I'm bald.
I think it's called Village or something like that.
So it's not like I can say much,
where
but
people have to make decisions about how much corn to plant, how many people to allocate to defense, how many to irrigation, and how many to various other things, other categories. And that certainly was part of my inspiration later on for Lords of the Realm, because I just loved.
Would you describe Lords of the Realm as a turning point for Impressions?
Very much so, and it's been a turning point in sales, in consumer and media opinion, critical opinion, and I think that's very much where we're going. If you want to say, well, is there a product today that sums up where you're going? You can look at Lords of the Realm. It was also our first CD project with enhancements, which we were quite proud of for the time. It was low res, and obviously that we're now in a high res world, but nonetheless, I think the interface, the quality of the gameplay, that's very much where we're going.
What is one major difference between Breach 2 and 3?
A tree-structured campaign system, so that you're not just fighting individual missions or linked missions, but there's more of a storyline within any of the campaigns. It obviously links in with Rules of Engagement 2 for those that want to.
What can you tell us about Powerhouse?
A really kind of slightly dark kind of futuristic business game. I think there's a lot of novels and movies written about that darker side of business, and I don't know to what extent that's accurate. I'm sure to an extent it is, particularly if you get into arms trading or something. But we're talking about the control of the world's power, and things don't get as much more basic and core than that. And that's such an essential part of how the world runs, that the game is a lot about power grabbing, hence the name Powerhouse.
Hence the name Powerhouse. How did you first get involved with computer games?
The whole Space Invader type genre on day one was what sucked me in. I loved that stuff. Breakout in particular, I think, was one of my favorites. All those things. I used to meet with groups of friends, and we'd go out on Saturday nights or Friday nights or whatever, and would meet and play a few games first. And I had one particular friend who was a games programmer, and he had a couple of games published, which kind of got me a little bit interested in the trade side of games publishing and development.
Why did you choose to design Powerhouse for WinG? Explain yourself.
I think Windows does an awful lot for game players that a lot of game players probably don't realize yet. I think there are standards in terms of the way that people play the game that just make them easy to fall into, easy to pick up and learn. I think there's a crispness to the graphics that is, unsurpassed in the field of strategy gaming.
What do you think of the graphics versus gameplay issue?
It's clear that for strategy games in particular, graphics are secondary, and they must be secondary. The key thing is gameplay. If the game is wonderful looking but has no gameplay, it's worthless. However, I don't think that we as the developer and publishers should rely on the gameplay and say, you don't need the graphics, so we're not going to give them to you. Why not give them both? What a concept. And that's what we're trying to do, and I think we're achieving with Caesar 2 and the current projects.
Okay. What do you think Impressions deserves more credit for?
I think we haven't got as much credit as I think we have deserved for our graphics historically. We were the first people to really bring 3D rendered graphics and animation sequences to strategy games. I think that our CD enhanced versions that we put out last year with speech and things really did enhance gameplay. I think we've worked hard to make sure that the CD-ROM isn't just a nice intro and then nothing else, but that it does actually give the user a lot more. And I'd like to see us getting more credit for that going forward.
Okay, give them credit for their graphics, goddammit. Anyways, what do you think of attempts to create more of a universal computer standard?
Ultimately, if we want to become a mass market business, which I think a lot of people in the industry do want us to become, we're going to have to conquer that issue. It's not on for publishers, whether it's us or somebody else, to release a product full of bugs that doesn't work on some machines, that doesn't work with this sound card or that sound card. We're very excited about Windows 95 and see that fixing a lot of those issues. I don't think it'll be perfect by a long way, but I think it's a very good step in the right direction.
All right, folks, I gotta hit a room real quick. Hit the restroom real quick. I'm gonna let him talk. I'll be right back.
We wanted to put the product out. We thought the product was ready. We didn't think we had modem play on the box. We always had intended to have modem play as a feature in the product, but we decided to ship it without and add modem play later. I think that with hindsight that was a mistake. It really upset some users, and had we known quite how they would have felt, then I don't think we would have done that.
Thank you for waiting. I appreciate that. Next up, have you ever had trouble with people comparing your games to other products?
Xbox came out and everyone said, "Oh, this looks like Railroad Tycoon in the skies." And we said, "Oh, that's a great compliment. Wonderful, thank you very much." In practice, though, it was more than that. It set up an image of what people were expecting, the consumer, when the product hit. And of course, we never set out to make it Railroad Tycoon in the skies. We wanted to make it a game about running an airline. And so there were drastic differences, and a lot of the consumers, I think, felt misled that what they've been told to expect wasn't their vision of what actually happened, what we actually delivered. And so those comparisons can be awkward sometimes.
I think that's it. All right, that is this month's interview with David Lester, founder and president of Impressions. Cool. Last but not least, it's time for the Looking Glass company profile.
Welcome to our company profile. This month, we visited Looking Glass Technologies of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Long known as a developer of high-quality products for the likes of Origin and Access, Looking Glass has recently branched off into publishing. Their first self-published title, Flight Unlimited, will be distributed by Virgin Interactive by the time you view this episode of IE.
All right, let's learn about Ned Lerner.
We try to hire people who are out of control. No, we try to hire people who are inspired to create new things, and they are fun to work with, and they're always pushing, and sometimes they are out of control, but the result is something that no one's ever seen before. I went to school with Paul Nerat, and we always loved games.
Always
we
loved
decided
games.
to write our own game. That was back in 1982.
Oh, I missed this earlier, but thank you, TJ Wolf, for the follow.
Which was published later by Surtech.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
It wasn't a tremendous hit, but it was a lot of fun to work on, and we did some really great things with technology.
God, I love doing great things with technology.
That didn't work out, and Paul ended up working with Origin, and I ended up working with EA on Chuck Yeager. We stayed in touch and helped each other out. And after a while, it seemed clear that what we really wanted to do was start our own publishing company. The flight simulator, you'll see a sort of unprecedented level of realism to the point now where real pilots actually enjoy it. Whereas 5 years ago, if you showed a pilot a flight simulator, they would just laugh at you. They'd say, "This isn't anything like my plane."
They'd beat you up. They'd put you in a trash can.
And going onwards, we plan to simulate more and more of human behavior to the point which in 5 or 10 years where we hope to duplicate, the cyberspace environment everyone is dreaming about, where you can literally
Cyberspace environment.
An artificial world, meet people, talk to them, and never really think that you're in an artificial place. You'll just treat it as it is another reality. And that's been my dream my whole life.
That's what I do with VR chat.
I was feeling that talking is one of the last problems to be solved, because you're almost directly connecting to the other person's intelligence. But maybe arm wrestling them, or fighting them, or giving them objects, or climbing up a castle wall, all those kinds of things we'll be able to handle realistically. Talking, I think the humans will be sort of the kings of the world, and the computer people will be sort of the serfs of the world. But most people want to have a few serfs anyway, so that should work out fine.
Excuse me? The serfs?
For the physical modeling, we are actually trying to simulate a human being in the way you might try to simulate a car. We're treating the human as a series of connected joints that have certain springs and forces attached to them. And while that sounds dull, what it means in the game is that when people run, they really, really look like they're running, and they can duck and dive and respond to the environment incredibly realistically. And no one's ever... When there was only one game, everyone in the company knew what they were supposed to do every single day. Now that we're working on actually 3 projects, and we have different departments, it's hard to keep everyone sort of totally focused on what to do. But the good side is that the survival of the company isn't at stake on a daily basis. So we've gone from sort of a happy group of college hackers to someone trying to make a mark on the business world, and so I can't say I miss those old days. They were terrifying, to be honest. It was very hard just to stay in business. Honestly, I found programming the most painful thing I've done in my entire life. I was good at it. I was very successful. I created fun products, but it was like I felt like I was Sisyphus or something, pushing this gigantic rock up the hill. And it's such a pleasure working with all these other talented people. I don't actually miss it too hard. We're hoping to do 10,000 person simultaneous role-playing games where you can talk to people, meet people,
10,000 simultaneous role-playing games.
Write music for them, and in return they might make you a magic sword or give you a map to a secret quest. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It won't have much resemblance to the industry of today.
True. Now it's time for Paul Neurath.
Nedler and I founded Looking Glass, a precursor of Looking Glass, back in 1983. We worked together out of my house for a number of years. It was really a cottage industry back then, and worked on games. And it wasn't until just about the late 80s that we started to really grow as a development group. And it was in about 1991, 92 where we started to hire employees and grow. And we changed our name. We merged. Nedler had Learner Research, and I had Blue Sky Productions, and those 2 companies merged in 1992 to become Looking Glass Technologies.
Oh.
So that we would do all the programming, the artwork, the design, and even the playtesting and debugging of it, and we would give a final disc to a publisher, and they would take it and put it out on the marketplace. Very simple, innocent time for our industry. And of course that's now changed quite a bit. But our roles evolved from being the person or people to create the game to trying to manage the process, almost like a producer role or director role of bringing together teams who would create the projects. And for us, it was a good role. We enjoyed it quite a bit. Moving away, I think we had, between the 2 of us, coded far too many lines of assembler and C that
coded fart?
enough for us. One of the things that we've been fortunate for us is that essentially without exception all of our titles have been successful titles, and we've had some very significant titles that have really been breakthroughs, new categories, and for us it's always been a source of just excitement to be able to create new kinds of titles that open up new areas for the industry as we can sort of explore where the industry is growing.
Okay, Jerry Wolosenko, what you got to say?
So we concentrate
there,
on
that's a
absolutely
movie I've been meaning to see.
maximizing real-time interaction with wherever you are, whether it's a flight simulator or an adventure game or a role-playing game. We want to try to create that for the game player while they're there. Many of the other companies in our business are using the cinematic model. They are also using computer-generated images, but many of those images are done offline. They're pre-rendered images using very sophisticated machinery, and they're very nice and very high-resolution images, but in fact they're pre-recorded. It's pre-scripted, and ultimately the experience, the game-playing experience that you have is to a great extent predetermined. And I think what happens is that people are drawn to those images. They're great images. They have high resolution. They have color. They have all of the things people want to see. That's the kind of goal that you go after. And I think that people have been seduced by that, and I think that they have, to a great extent, forgotten that ultimately it's an emotional experience that you have to have. It's Dark Forces, where probably serves as the most recent example, where it isn't a question of getting an image or getting the same images that are used in the cinematic product and the movie product and kind of making sort of a dumb game out of it. I think it'll be much more about concept. For example, in Dark Forces, the Star Wars theme, the Dark Forces game is not about a particular adventure. It's about an environment that's great.
Okay. Doug Church and Greg Lopiccolo. Am I saying that right? Hope I am.
Underworld, in my opinion, and hey, I get to say this because it was my fault, so I can blame myself. In my opinion, Underworld's big problem was we had this text system, and then we had this map system, and then we had this combat system, and we had this exploration system. They're all very discrete. And I think System Shock does a much better job of making that one integrated, immersive experience where it's all there on screen all the time. You never have to break the fiction. You never have to break the pacing. It's just one continuous thing. Sort of said a couple years ago, hey, like a flight simulator would be fun. And this Terra Nova sort of outdoor, immersive, sort of squad-based infantry thing would be fun. And hey, let's do sort of an indoor 3D cyberpunk sort of thing. And really there isn't much overlap. So we've sort of had to all become generalists at some level, to get the products we want. And okay, we want to get reusable engines that are extensible, but we want several of them. Like, we don't want an engine we use for everything. Like, that is not the goal. That is explicitly not what we are trying to do. We do, however, want to take something like System Shock and evolve it. It's unclear what we're doing next. One of the things we really feel as a company is that the key thing on a project is that the entire team is psyched about it. And we have more proposals floating around in product development at the moment than we are ever going to get to, even if we, all go to Siberia for 10 years and just write code.
You can go anywhere to write code. You don't have to go to Siberia.
Personally, I'm very interested in doing another role-playing game in the next, 3 years.
Game sound systems at this point are still pretty limited, so we wanted to come up with the best way we could to get the realistic sound of the plane. So what we started with is most of them are exotic stunt planes, from Germany and Russia and so forth. So Tom Strite, who's the other audio guy, and myself went to Florida to the importer with our portable DAT machine, and they strapped us into these stunt planes, and we, with the mechanic, actually wired contact mics into the engine compartment and then into the cockpit, and went up and did all the stunts and so forth, and just recorded the whole thing. So
that's crazy.
Some stuff that we just actually captured ourselves, or I would walk around my apartment.
Okay,
and,
fair goblin. Maybe he has the code in Siberia because it's nice and cold there.
VCR, like loading a tape, and then pitch that down an octave and mix it with some other stuff to get like machinery noises.
All right, we got Seamus Blackley. I know we all want to see Dan Schmidt because he looks like a sci-fi villain. We love Dan's aesthetic here. It's so good. But we got to hear from Seamus first.
We had the World Aerobatic Champion endorse it kind of free of charge for us. Usually you pay for an endorsement from someone, and this guy saw it in France and he flew it. And one of the airplanes in the game is the airplane that he flies now. And he came away from it saying, "Gosh, that's just right. That's right."
Gosh, that's just right.
obsessively tweaking the flight models so that the hordes of pilots on the net who are going to fly it and say, you know, it stalled a knot and a half too soon and it doesn't have that little shutter, which are things that no other flight model has ever been so precise to actually allow them to judge before, are right. I actually went ahead and bought a sailplane and decided that I would consign myself to eating rice and beans for the next few years. And I went flying it, and it was just like flight. And so it's as if my hobby has disappeared. We did too good a job, and that's kind of spooky. So maybe I'll take up scuba diving now.
He's an ancient bread connoisseur? Shameless Blackley's bread adventures are great. Well, I need to know more about this guy and his bread.
Elsewhere. And that understanding what it is that comes out of the box and out of the speakers, and how it is that people perceive that sitting there in that chair is extraordinarily important. If you pay attention to how the experience is getting across, then you can do something very, very powerful. I've been very shocked when, as I've said many times before, office manager candidates and people who have no interest in video games whatsoever, or perhaps even no interest in flying or are scared of airplanes, come and become addicted to flight.
He baked the old Egyptian forbidden bread?
Everybody is clamoring for an air combat product.
Seamus, that's so cool!
That's hard. That's hard because air combat has virtually nothing to do with the kinds of products that are out there right now. In much the same way that I felt when I began this product that flying an airplane has nothing to do with the flight simulators that are out there now.
Okay, all right, it's dance time. Seamus made the forbidden sourdough. That's so cool. Wow, thank you, Chad, for letting me know. That's fucking great. All right, Dan. Dan looks like he's about to kill Superman with kryptonite.
The terrain renderer in Terranova is one of the neatest things about it. What we're able to do is give texture map, realism, and detail up close to the player while still able to render a very large area. So, for example, we're rendering all the way out in the distance to show mountains, but you can really walk right up to those mountains and it'll be rendered in the same detail as the stuff right next to you when you get there. It's not like a backdrop or anything, so that it looks really good. It's a science fiction game in which you and your squad mates are in powered battle armor with various weapons mounted on you and go out on planets and fight the bad guys. The plot actually takes place on a different star system, on the Centauri star system, and you've colonized this system like a while back as sort of a separate entity, and now the evil Earth government is coming and trying to annex you again, so it's a fight for your freedom. We thought it would be neat to do a science fiction type game, and having these power battle armor or PBAs
Dan, you're great.
gives us a lot more flexibility and fun than just like going around in tanks or whatever.
It works.
It's really neat to go around and watch people actually walking around and dealing with them as humans rather than as these impersonal beings in tanks or whatever. What we're doing here is actually doing a physical model of the human body in which every frame of the game we're looking at all the joints and the limbs and the forces and the stresses on those in real time and computing the location of all the joints for the next frame, so then each frame we can update basically the skeleton of our PBA and sort of drape a 3D model over that. The exciting thing is that we're not previously capturing motion at all. It's all real-time physical simulation. Nothing is done sort of offline, capturing motion from before. And so Seamus, our physicist guy, has done lots of work in trying to come up with a model of the human body that's, has all the detail and yet is really fast and really robust and can deal with all the kind of things that people can really do when they walk around.
Yeah, second guitarist from Pavement look. I respect it.
What happens is, at runtime, if someone wants to move forward, we give him a force forward, and he will naturally want to put his foot forward to keep his balance, and then his foot will hit the ground, and the ground will transmit a force through his foot to the rest of his body, and his body will adjust, and he'll keep on doing that over and over again as he walks. And when you do that over many frames, you get a person walking and actually reacting to the terrain. It looks really neat.
that is a Looking Glass. Wait, we got some facts. All right. They did System Shock. See, John Madden football. Okay. Damn, they did a lot. All right, what about the awards? John Madden football won an award. So did System Shock. F-22. Damn, Looking Glass. I'm glad that Dan is out there doing his thing. Bios. All right, let's learn about these guys. Oh, it's just okay. You can get the CD and you can download the CD. If you want to read the bios, you can download the CD-ROM on Archive. Every issue is on archive.org, and you can learn about it that way. All right, let's go back. I think it's time to go to the articles. Let's go. All right, 8. We're going to do all of these. We're just going to skip the stuff that we're only going to skip hints and tips, since that's a real loser type section. No offense to people who like tips and tricks, but you're good. All right. So this ends with Woodruff and the Snivel? All right. Let's get started here. Let's get started with 1830.
1830, Railroads and Robber Barons was originally a board game from Avalon Hill that's been translated to the PC about the railroad industry way back when and the men who ran them.
I find that hard to believe.
You find what hard to believe?
That 1830 could have ever existed as a board game. After playing the PC version, I don't see how all of the stuff in this game could have been handled without a computer.
Well, that's probably the reason they put it on the PC. There's so many things to do and keep track of, it plays quite well when there's a computer to manage it. The objective of the game is deceptively simple. Make more money than anyone else.
Make money, got it.
You accomplish this through buying and selling stocks in railroad corporations, buying and selling smaller businesses, and establishing and running the rail lines themselves.
The trouble is, anyone who isn't involved with business or at least have an interest in it will probably be lost.
You can say that pretty much about the rest of 1830. That's not a fault with the game.
You're right, that's simply the way the game was originally designed. Very business-oriented.
You begin the game bidding on and buying small companies which supply only a small amount of initial income, but provide little bonuses like that share of railroad stock that comes along with the business.
Mohawk and Hudson,
at first,
huh?
Since these businesses are not the actual railroad corporations. They only allow you to get small advantages in the game. In fact, as the game goes along, the businesses are eventually closed down.
Yeah, I don't want to go through the solutions for every level of Battle Bugs. I think that's a little bit of a
The actual railroads are controlled through the buying and selling of their stock, which is the next part of the game. Each corporation has 10 shares of stock to buy and sell. The person who buys the first share of stock receives the President's Certificate, which is worth 2 shares.
Why have something like that?
Well, the person who controls the most stock is the President and runs the corporation. If 2 people own the same amount of stock, whoever owns the President's Certificate is the President.
And the corporations don't open for business until 6 shares are bought off the market, right?
Can I be the president?
Then the corporation is considered floated, open for business,
Hudson Mohawk,
and starts
good
running
name.
train routes.
This is very business intensive.
Clearly, it's not for everyone, but it is fun once you get into it.
Okay.
When the stocks are divided up, the operating rounds begin. This is where the corporations begin laying track and establishing routes. The more routes that run, the more money that the corporation makes, which means the more dividends they pay out and the higher their stocks rise.
Whoa, everything affects everything else.
Just like in the real world, huh? There are various types of trains to buy, and when the more advanced ones start running, then some of the more obsolete ones are taken out
I
of
want
the
to ride
game.
a Canadian
And
train
as I
one
found
day.
out the hard way, even if those obsolete trains are the only ones you own, poof, they're gone. So Railroad Baron Bob can really mess up the other barons by buying more advanced trains. It gets to be a very cutthroat game.
As the game goes along, there are different types of track tiles that can be used
I also
to
want to
connect
ride
the
those
rails in
trains that they've been
cities.
building
As
in
you
Mexico.
update
They
the
look
tracks
so
in the cities,
cool.
the money made in that city also increases.
At the beginning of the game, there's the basic one stretch of track which curves left and right. More tracks are introduced later in the game, which have branches
I'm
going
trying to
every
get
which
into
way.
Open
There's an option
TTD.
to play with
I'm
limited
much more
tracks
into
that are available,
Open
making it easier for you to shaft and be
RTC.
shafted by the other barons.
RCT, I mean.
When first playing the game, 1830 can be kind of difficult to learn. This almost plays more like a business simulation than a game.
I was wandering around shouting, "Red rum, the first time I read the manual. It's like being in business school at times.
The other problem is that unless you really like business competition, you probably won't like this. But don't misunderstand, the game is actually well done, and once you're into it, it's pretty easy to play and a lot of fun.
The pros?
A well-done translation of the board game, 1830 couples enough realism with gaming to give you that ruthless railroad baron feeling while still having fun. It also eliminates some of the tedium that plagues the tabletop version of this game.
Yeah, last year I got to ride the train a lot. It was so cool. I guess I could ride the train to Dallas at some point, but I don't know what I want to do in Dallas. Oh, I'm so stupid. There's a Pop Mart in Dallas. I could go there and wait in line with 1,000 people and not get a Labubu. Let's go to the cons.
As your business interests go, so go your interests with 1830. It's complicated to learn if you've never played the board game before. And once you learn, there's lots of financial matters to wade through.
And we should also try Railroad Tycoon and Transport Tycoon. You don't say. The Video Game Museum in Frisco. I didn't know there was a Video Game Museum in Frisco. See, I'm learning so much from chat. All right, let's go to Absolute Zero.
Have you ever been stuck in a dead-end job on a desolate ball of ice when
Never.
suddenly you're attacked by hordes of vicious aliens?
Well, okay,
No,
that
we're
did
not
happen
talking about
once when I was
Winter on
working
the
in a video
Vermont-Canadian
store.
border. We're talking about Absolute Zero, a new action game under development at Domark. We recently talked to producer Dave
Having more
Georgeson about the
spicy
dangers of
juice.
mining ice in the Jovian system. Absolute Zero is an action game that takes place on Europa, the barren ice moon of Jupiter. It concentrates on the battles
it's got the
between human
Domark
miners
stink
and
all over
destructive
it.
alien presence.
The actual gameplay itself, if you want to boil it all the way down to a stereotype, is a sim shooter. It is basically what you're doing. You fly and drive and man turrets. You go inside, outside, and above things. But essentially what you're doing is shooting things. But there's a lot more to it because the scenarios are fairly involved. You spend a lot of time doing lots of different kinds of missions instead of just racking up kills and accumulating an overall score or something
I do
like that.
love the helicopter noise in the background of all these phone calls, by the way.
With perfection of fusion drives, spacecraft can use water for fuel. For the past 150 years, a human mining colony has been at work on Europa, turning the moon into a refueling depot. Suddenly,
they
a
put
mining
them all
city
in
is
the helicopter.
destroyed by aliens.
They hire a helicopter exclusively
But
for
unbeknownst to
reviews.
the colony, a long time ago, there were aliens that had been fleeing an unknown menace that hid, burrowed to the center of Europa and went into suspended animation trying to get away from that. Well, the reason for that doesn't come out clearly until towards the end of the game. But basically what happened was there was a waiting game that happened, and when the miners started to delve into the rocky core of Europa, they got a little bit too close to the aliens. The aliens woke up, decided that the Terrans were an advance force from the people they were hiding from, and reacted incorrectly. And so they explode out from the center of Europa and incidentally destroy one of the Terran cities in the process. They didn't intend to, but they come up underneath it.
You'll be fighting your battles over the ice-covered surface of Europa. The landscape is currently flat-shaded, but the design team is tinkering with the idea of going to Garo shading. Europa may not be the prettiest place you've played in, but it will be accurate.
The Europa terrain that we fly over, not that it's critical to the gameplay or anything like that, but it really is Europa. We scanned in a NASA photograph and went for it that way. We exaggerated the terrain a little bit because Europa is kind of a cue ball. But the terrain is varied. You have a lot of canyon stuff to fly through.
Absolute Zero is not going to be a one-man-against-the-universe game. At last report, Bruce Willis is not stationed on the mining colony.
Aww.
Instead of assigning the player one character, the fictional person under your control changes from mission to mission.
There's also 7 different characters that you play throughout the story. And the reason why I consider that a good thing is that a lot of times, I played a lot of games that I had a lot of fun at, where you're the solitary guy trying to save the universe. But on the other hand, I've read a lot of books, like say Hunt for Red October or something like that, where one of the reasons why the story is so gripping is because it feels real. You get a real world experience because from chapter to chapter you skip around from character to character and you go to where all the most important stuff in the whole world is happening, and that's what we do with the game too. So you skip around from the characters, from character to character, and then towards the end of the storylines, the characters begin to interact and dovetail the plot lines together, and you get a big climax at the end.
The action in Absolute Zero will be as varied as the characters you play the game through. Many of the missions will be in first-person flight scenarios, while others will have you taking a back seat.
Yeah, this game's
to another
not for me,
pilot.
but it
Some
could
of the
be
missions
good.
you have control of where you're going, and some of them you're the weapons officer. and the driver will be making decisions on where precisely to go. So we pop back and forth between the turret and allowing you to fly wherever you want to, and have the fixed weapons on your ship. Every once in a while,
I like
have
the
a scenario
crystals.
where by putting them in the
They look
turret,
delicious.
you can do some just really cool gee whiz, stuff that couldn't possibly have been done if the
Gee
player was
whiz,
just
are we
wandering.
Superman or
Because
something?
the Europa colony is a simple mining operation, they are ill-equipped to fight a war against an alien race. You start the game with nothing but jury-rigged mining equipment for craft and weapons, but as you progress, more and more equipment gets adapted to war.
When you're in the game, as things get developed, you get to decide what goes onto your vehicles. So that if, say, you go through a scenario and you lose and you replay it, then you can decide if you want to change your weaponry and stuff like that. So you have some strategic element there.
One thing you can expect in Absolute Zero is a lot of really big dogfights. The team's goal is to create a large, dynamic environment, not just a series of opponents you duel against one or two at a
Chat,
time.
We
I
had
have a horrible
70
question.
things on screen that you could see all at the same time.
Did they ever make a
Dogfighting
dogfight
it out.
video
It was
game with
really
dogs?
cool. We kept watching it and going, wow, we did the last scene in Return of the Jedi.
Or is that something
And
I'd have to
we
find
a
on, like,
different one where
Newgrounds?
You're protecting an armada, basically, that's going to relieve a city. And I think there's probably 150 things in the air at the same time.
With Absolute Zero,
Snoopy's
Domark
flying
is
ace,
attempting to
okay.
create a gaming universe that can be visited many times
Okay,
and in several
Snoopy.
different
So
forms,
you
not
can
just
you
through
can you
action
can
games.
air race as Snoopy.
One idea
okay.
already being kicked around is to do a sequel from the aliens' point of view. There's much more to the aliens than we've given away here. For those details, play Absolute Zero when it arrives at store shelves, which should be sometime this summer.
Okay. What about Apache?
Geronimo!
Oh, God.
Hey, what in the world are you doing?
I'm getting ready
For what?
for this review on Apache.
Apache is a helicopter combat simulation from Interactive Magic. You know, Wild Bill Steely's new company?
It's not about Geronimo,
No, now put down that tomahawk.
but Geronimo's flying, right?
Pasta with all sorts of
Apache is the
different
third
sauces.
incarnation of the gunship games, featuring 3D SVGA graphics, a
Guys!
snot load of missions, network, and modem play.
I think it's a good thing to mention that this is not like Comanche, which was more of an
Pasta with all
arcade-style
sorts of
shoot 'em
different
up.
sauces.
Apache has more emphasis on being a combat helicopter simulation. There is an arcade mode, which makes it easier to fly, but for the hardcore fans, the realistic mode offers the experience of actually flying an Apache helicopter.
Which, I need to say, shows the reason that Bob Civilian isn't allowed to fly military hardware.
Before you ever get to the combat,
Hey,
there's the
I hit
nifty
my
map
follower
screen,
goal.
which
Thank
outlines
you,
the
Pepper
mission and
Stink, for the
course you'll be needing to
follow.
take.
Remember
I'm
that
at
these are
670.
military-coordinated missions,
That's so
and they'll be
good. Thank
expecting you to
you.
fly to all of the waypoints.
I never knew that a map could be interactive, but this is no mortal map. This is
Oh,
the
okay.
Apache map.
You can rotate this thing to whatever angle you want, zoom in on any part of the map, and decide which enemies and good guys you do and don't want to see. It even offered to take out my trash.
You can also choose the 3D function, which gives you
I
a
wish it'd
window
take
in
out
which
my
you fly
trash.
over the landscape to any point you choose on the map.
All you have to do is click on a point, and as the 3D marker moves toward that point, it shows you the terrain it's flying over.
Okay.
Flashy.
Indeed.
In the cockpit, you have a ton of options. The basic views are the front and back seats, which give you 5 monitors between them. On 4 of the monitors, you can assign whatever functions you want, and the 5th monitor shows a close-up of the soon-to-be-destroyed enemy you've targeted.
You can assign ground radar, air radar, weapon status, satellite mapping, and more.
You can also look out to both sides of the cockpit with 2 views on either side. So you can look about 45 degrees and 90 degrees to both your left and right. The extra views that are available are very impressive as well. You can set the external view
Listen,
to any angle you want.
I
and
do
the
want
detail
these
of
two
your chopper
reviewers
is
to
so
kiss,
exact
but
that you can
it's
see each
it's none
individual
of my
missile
business
pod
if they
and
do
whether
or
or not the
don't.
missile has been
They should,
fired.
though.
You can use the spectator view, the remote view, and then there's the view.
Ah,
The view?
yes, the one, the
Like the
only
show?
weapon view.
Actually, I'm pretty
You
sure
can
this was
ride
before the
right
view
on the
was the
tail of the
show.
missile as it rushes toward the target, and even customize the angle you're riding on the missile so you can get that happy feeling we should all have when blowing
just
things
seemed
up.
like
Take
another
the
sad
scene in
case
Robin Hood,
of
Prince of
people
Thieves,
killing
when
each
the
other.
arrow was
Sure
flying
is.
through the forest and you're right behind it. And cross it with Slim Pickens riding the bomb in Dr. Strangelove. That's what it feels like.
Another great feature of Apache is the helmet view. Instead of just looking out the window and targeting whatever you see, Apache allows you to freely look around in whatever direction you normally could in an actual Apache.
This feature, more than any other, gave me the feeling of actually being there. When you can look to your left and right, and up and down like you really would in a chopper, it not only helps in finding targets, but it helps complete the simulation experience. It's the next best thing to actually wearing one of those helmets.
When you have all of this and SVGA graphics as well, you can imagine what kind of power a machine needs to have to make it go. Don't worry, Apache has it all covered. You can run it in either SVGA mode or VGA mode.
And within each of those modes, you can decide how much detail to run. You can have SVGA mode with little detail, VGA mode with a lot of detail, and everything in between. Whatever runs best on your system.
Apache is a great game with many features and options, and I've only begun to scratch the surface. There's also a full campaign, modem play so you and your friend can go head-to-head, and there's network capability so you and all your buds can have at it.
It does my heart good to see a package like this. Great graphics, great gameplay, and one of the best interfaces I've seen all come together in a super game. It may sound like just another helicopter game, but products are seldom done this well.
All right, you heard them. Products. Hey, what the hell? Products are seldom done this well. I do like products. What are the pros?
Superb graphics, great play, lots of customizing options, multiplayer, and a great campaign mode all add up to an amazing game. This is what a combat helicopter simulation is supposed to be.
And the cons?
I don't know. Some people might not like this game or something.
All right, they're not going to tell us what we should also try, but sounds like a good game. Let's do Battleground Ardennes.
Battleground Ardennes is a Windows hex-style World War II strategy game created by Talonsoft, a fledgling company started by former Avalon Hill Vice President Jim Rose. You can take on the computer as either the Allied or Axis forces, or you can play against a friend in different scenarios from individual confrontations to a full-scale campaign. Play is carried out through a series of turns which are divided up into 10 phases, 5 for each side. Moving and firing is determined through attributes for each type of unit, which make this a very straightforward hex-based game system. If you've played hex games before, then you're already familiar with the way Battleground Ardennes works. There are certain objective hexes, which are each worth a certain number of points.
Yeah, we got hex game in
with
here.
The highest number of points when the end of the scenario is reached. Each turn takes about 15 simulation minutes, not real-time minutes, to get through, and the game ends when a set time for that scenario is reached. The layout of the screen allows for pieces to be stacked, that is, more than one unit can occupy a hex at one time. And in this case, up to 4 units are allowed on a single hex. Each unit in the hex has its own window at the bottom of the screen. If you want to give orders
hexes,
to a unit,
scroll
you simply
bars.
click on its window.
Look at this.
The
It's
game
got
is very
everything
easy
you
to play,
need.
with all of the functions being controlled through a
Run without
click
stopping.
interface.
It sounds dangerous.
There is the standard Windows toolbar at the top of the screen, through which you can give orders and gain information, but there is also a floating toolbar which has all of the functions represented by icons. It's very efficient, but if you're not the floating toolbar type, it can be a turnoff. One impressive feature of Battleground Ardennes is the 3D view. The startup view is the basic board game top-down view. However, there are hexes on the board which are at different altitude than others, which the top-down view colors to represent the difference in heights. This can be kinda confusing, so the 3D view can come in very handy, since it gives the player a canted view of the board, which gives a more accurate representation of the playing field. The graphics in Battleground Ardennes are done very well.
Yeah, it needs
the
more
units are
hexes in the
represented by
UE.
nicely done
More
artwork,
hexes.
And the terrain window shows photo-quality pictures of the terrain in
Hell,
that
get the
particular
hex girls in here. What are they
It would
up
be
to?
easy to ignore the graphic quality when designing a strategy board game, but Battleground Ardennes looks very nice. Although there's nothing really new as far as gameplay is concerned, the fact that this is a Windows-based game with digitized video,
Yeah, the
nice
OK
graphics,
button should
and
be a
easy
hex.
gameplay
The
could make this
run
something
without
that becomes
stopping
very
checkbox
popular
should
in
be a
offices
hex.
as well as in the home. Folks who like strategy games without a lot of complicated gameplay to deal with will want to check out Battleground Ardennes.
Okay. What about Blood Bowl?
Welcome, sports fans, to Blood Bowl, the fiercest, bloodiest football game ever seen by humankind. Or any other kind, for that matter.
Get on with it, man. It's Blood Bowl, baby. You know, Games Workshop, Warhammer, the real deal, the main game. It's awesome, baby.
Warhammer, one of the most popular board games ever, brings you Blood Bowl.
Don't stop the accents,
a prolific
dudes.
pounding of players of paramount proportions on your PC. Blood Bowl is based on the board game of the same name, in which players in the far future discover a football rulebook and a stadium. They understood the basics of the game, but the football they developed is a little different than what we know today.
What can we say? It's the Warhammer universe, baby. That makes it rough, tough, mean, lean, and nasty. I love it. 11 players on each team made up of humans, elves, orcs, and Oh, I don't even know what some of these guys are!
These beings put on the pads, and it's malicious mayhem in a malevolent melee methodically made to murder.
It's mean, baby. It's just plain mean.
The action is broken down into 2 halves with 8 turns per team. I've never ever considered football being a turn-based game, but it seems to work here.
There are different kinds of players in this one. Throwers, runners, and big, mean, nasty guys that make Schwarzenegger look like a Vienna choir boy, if you know what I mean, baby.
The players have movement points for each turn in which they can run, block, pick up the ball, and a plenitude of other actions which really makes this fun. Each team is organized around one race. There are teams of humans, of orcs, and so on. You can choose whether you want to play a single game or start a brand new league. If you want to play a single game, you get to choose which team you want to be and which team to compete against.
But that's kid stuff, baby. League play is where the rubber meets the road. You decide which
Dick
team's
Vitale,
in which
that's who that
conference,
other guy
and then you
is.
sign on as
Yeah,
Chief
he's Dick
Kahuna,
Vitale.
and you're off, baby.
Your team earns money as they play game after game. And after you acquire a collection of coinage capable of covering concurrent...
Just say it, man. You get the green, you buy the mean. I'm talking free agents, baby. The meanest, nastiest, most talented guys around are yours to wheel and deal.
The interface is very simple to deal with. You can play with a mouse or a keyboard, and before you know it, you'll be crushing craniums in a custom capable of creating considerable consternation.
The instructions are short,
Yeah,
sweet,
the rats are
informative,
really
and
good in
funny,
this game.
baby. The opening story of the founding of Blood Bowl was a blast, and the rest of the manual is awesome.
However, you will find that if you examine this example of entertainment, that a few flaws will be noticed.
The animation is not what I expected from a CD-ROM game. It's kinda dull, baby. And the announcers say the same thing over and over and over and over. Hey guys, a CD-ROM holds lots of info. Let's have more stuff. The game is great, but the overall look is just so-so.
The instant replay is also a prevalent problem in this program. In fact, if I say so myself, the instant replay feature is just plain bad. It looks okay, but it runs ugly. What can this announcer say? There's no real reason for it.
It should have been done better, or better yet, left out, baby. It interrupts the game.
Don't expect Blood Bowl to have the typical trappings of the Titanic to-do known as football. It plays more like rugby with armor.
They did away with the extra stuff like huddles, first downs, and hiking the ball. Who needs them anyway? You get to call the opening play of your team, and it's war hammer time, baby.
This is a really fun game. One of those endeavors where it's easy to overlook the
Vitale is still
shortcomings
calling
because
games?
it is so enjoyable. Blood Bowl also has a patch you can get for free from the designers to make it modem playable.
I love it, baby! Bash your buds, fillet your friends. This is what sports is all about. I wish the Blood Bowl
Listen,
designers
I'm
put some
sorry
more
to
time
say
in
it. This
on things
Dick
like the
Vitale
announcer animations
sounds
and instant
impression.
replay. But
It
this
sounds a
game
little
is
fruity
awesome,
with it.
baby. You're
This
gonna
is
love
like a
it.
gay
Your friends
Dick
are gonna
Vitale.
love it. Get ready for Blood Bowl, baby.
Blood Bowl.
All right, let's check out the
Well,
the pros and cons. Pros.
It's very fun and very addictive. The game made a great crossover to the PC, and if you've ever played the board game, you'll not be disappointed with the computer version. Even if you've never played the board game, it's very easy to learn and to play.
And the cons.
The looks of the game could have been better. The announcers just have their mouths at you when they talk, and they run out of stuff to say within 15 minutes. After that, it's the same old stuff. Also, don't expect actual football. There's no hiking the ball and no first downs.
We should also try Brutal Sports Football on the Jaguar. So you got to get a Jaguar, folks. And Speedball 2. All right, let's check out the
Seems like
article
another
list.
sad case of people killing each other.
It's time for Brett Hole Hockey 95 review. And I think after this one, I'm going to go to intermission. And yeah, so let's do this first, though.
Maybe it's just me, but isn't professional hockey weird? I mean, body checking is legal, fist fights are allowed, and there's this penalty called icing.
Yeah, I still don't know what that is. It's okay if you don't either. The manual included with accolades Brett Hull Hockey.
Look at how nice
This game
that
probably
looks.
should have been released
Damn.
more toward the beginning of the NHL season, but if you're a hockey fan, you'll agree that Hull is worth the wait. In case you don't recognize the name,
Look at
Brett Hull is
him.
the star wingman for the
Hi,
St.
I'm
Louis
Brett.
Blues. Short of Wayne Gretzky, he's probably the most famous active player in a league which boasts few commercial superstars.
Hull isn't the only pro found in his game. In fact, all of the 94-95 NHL players
All right,
and
it's
their
time to
teams
finish
are
off the
included.
Mangonada.
Clicking on a player from a roster will bring
tighten
up
the
his
lid.
info screen. The more famous players are identified by digitized photos.
Like
Yeah,
any
Brett's a little
worthwhile sports
stoned with it. I
Hull
didn't want
allows
to be
for
rude and say
exhibition
it, but
and
he
league
is.
play. For those who have
Okay,
lives
finishing
outside
off
of
the
their
Mangonada.
office and can't play all day, mini-seasons of 11 or 42 games can be set up.
And get a load of these options. You can toggle sound, penalties, and pretty much whatever you want to, cheater. Imagine an 84-game season completely devoid of penalties.
All right.
After choosing two
Chocolate
teams
bottle
for an
there.
exhibition game,
Not
it's
great,
off to the ice.
but not bad.
So fast. First, it's off to this
It's
screen
squarely
here,
in the
where
good
you can make
range, the
last-minute player
Mangonada
changes
by
and also
Bolthouse
coach your
Farms.
team, which actually alters their attributes. Each team is rated in 8 categories, but you can basically change these ratings to whatever you choose, provided that the total stays the same.
So, for instance, we could take 2 points off of aggressiveness here and add them to skating. Okay, I guess that's neat. I don't see the point really, but Accolade must know something I don't. Okay, now it's off to the ice. The playing perspective is similar to the one used in console football games like Madden and NFL 95. It's a good perspective for hockey, too.
Yeah, and the speed of the game is challenging, but definitely playable. One problem I had occasionally, though, was knowing who had the puck. Hull uses a small gray disc underneath the player to signify possession, but when you're in a crowd and moving around, it's a bit difficult to tell who's who.
There are some minor glitches here and there, but
Ottawa
they don't really
face-off.
hinder gameplay that much.
I wouldn't
For
want to do
instance,
hockey against
computer-controlled
someone from
goalies have a
Ottawa. They would
tendency to
kick
hold
my
on to the puck
ass.
too long after a save, often to the point where a face-off is required.
Also, maybe it's just my spectacular natural ability finally manifesting itself, but when I played with good teams, I tended to skate right through the computer's defense. The game makes up for this somewhat by making breakaway shots more difficult, so the final scores are generally on par with what they should be.
A nice hit by 24.
That was Al Michaels. If you don't recognize the voice, you've been watching the wrong shows on Monday night.
Al is definitely one
Wrong.
of the best play-by-play guys around, and Accolade definitely deserves a thumbs up for using his digitized voice in Hull. I played several full games, and Al's commentary didn't miss a beat on any of them.
He even does a "we'll be right back" when you pause your game. I love it.
The timeout screen is where you'll find every option available
Hey,
to you during an actual
you
game.
know about hockey,
you can check
dude.
on stats, substitute goalies, and save games from here. Unfortunately, saving a game boots you back to DOS, which is wonderfully irritating.
True. I rarely needed to save, though. I was hooked on Hull enough to play through any game I started. Besides, when you finish, you get to see the players of the game. There's motivation for you.
Sure. Well, I'd buy Brett Hull Hockey anyway. It's an enjoyable game despite its minor quirks, and it's loads more fun than watching hockey on TV.
Personally, I can't wait for the Thrustmaster Skates and Sticks controller.
I want the Thrustmaster Skates and Sticks controller. Anyways, what are the pros?
Ice hockey is a fast game, and recreating that speed on a computer isn't easy. Accolade has done it, though, with a game engine that both plays well and is fairly easy to follow. The graphics are great everywhere, and the controls are no problem.
And the cons?
There are some small logic bugs in the gameplay, which account for the overprotective goalies and mismatches that you're likely to see occasionally. It's really tough to beat a good team with a bad one.
We should also try NHL 95 and the NHL Stanley Cup on SNES. Okay. Let's go back to the article list. We don't have a lot of reviews this month, so all right. Let's go and take a quick break here. Got some good... Sorry. The Mangonada spiciness kind of kicked in, and I'm just like, ugh. All right, folks, we'll be back in about 10 minutes. We've got more of Dead Doctors Don't Lie. A piece of extreme quackery, as I love to show. I love to show off quackery. I'm sorry. I have a soft spot for quackery. So yeah, we got more of that, plus more of the album entitled Zodiac as background music. So let me just get this all set up here. Do this. I gotta turn that down. Gotta turn this up. All right, folks. See you in about 10 minutes.
So I decided I was going to collect obituaries of doctors and lawyers. Now, as crazy as that sounds, remember I told you the doctors live to an average age of 58, and we live to 75.5. And here's a group of people, professionals, who pontificate to you and tell you, well, this is what you need to do. You need to give up salt and no caffeine, and you need to not eat butter and eat margarine and do all these crazy things. And they die at age 58 on the average. And, of course, all those people who live to be 120 to 140, they put a chunk of rock salt in their tea every day, and they drink 40 cups of tea a day, 40 chunks of rock salt, and they cook with butter instead of olive oil, and they live to be 120. So who are you going to believe, the people who live to be 58 or the people who live to be 120? It's your choice. Anyway, I got a few of them here, some of my favorites. This is Dr. Stuart Cartwright, age 38. He dropped dead in his home. He was a family practitioner of a ruptured aneurysm. That's a ballooning of an artery that's a weakened artery because of the fragmenting or the brittle condition of the elastic fibers in arteries. Just like when you hit a chuck hole with your car tire and you break the cords in there and you get a balloon. He dropped dead like he was pole-axed, okay, right in his home from a ruptured aortic aneurysm. Now, we learned in 57, aneurysms are caused by a copper deficiency. We had a pilot project, 250,000 turkeys, and we made complete food pellets where you put all the 90 nutrients in there. And in the first 13 weeks, fully half of those turkeys died. 125,000 of them. Farmers were out there every morning picking them up by the bushel basket. They took them to the state diagnostic labs and they were autopsied, and they found out that they all had died from a ruptured aortic aneurysm. So they doubled the amount of copper in there, and the next year they tried to raise 500,000 turkeys, and they didn't lose a single turkey from a ruptured aortic aneurysm. And they ran that experiment in mice and rats and rabbits and dogs and cats and calves and sheep and pigs and whatnot, and guess what? They found out that there's a whole series of diseases that are caused by a copper deficiency. Gray hair is the first sign. When you start getting gray hair, regardless of your age, you got a copper deficiency. You get skin wrinkles because the elastic fibers in your skin are going. Those little crow's feet around your eyes and facial and body skin wrinkles. You look like you're a little prune drying up. Okay. Then, of course, there's the varicose veins. Varicose veins. That's caused by an elastic fiber breakdown. Then, of course, parts of your body begin to sag. Under your arms, your breasts, your bellies, your legs, all this stuff starts sagging. And you can go to a cosmetic surgeon or plastic surgeon if you want, but it's a lot cheaper and a lot more effective and a lot safer if you just take some copper. Okay, well, Dr. Cartwright may have had a medical degree, but he didn't have expensive urine, so he died of something that even a turkey wouldn't die from. Then here's one. This fellow, he was a doctor's doctor, Dr. Martin Carter. He almost made it. He died at age 57. He got his medical degree from Harvard Medical School and his PhD in medicine from Yale. Of course, he was autopsied by the best because he was a doctor's doctor. He said, quote, "The cause of death was a ruptured aortic aneurysm," said Dr. Jules Hirsch of the Rockefeller University Hospital, unquote. What did he die from? Copper deficiency. See, he didn't have expensive urine either. Then here's an attorney. She was so famous, she was from Detroit, age 44, Ellen Joyce Alter. She was in the New York Times obituary. She made the big time. And, of course, she probably had steel buns because she belonged to one of those private health clubs. All these gals want steel buns, you know, doing their little exercises. But she didn't have expensive urine because she died of a ruptured cerebral aneurysm. When they don't do an autopsy, the symptoms could be called a stroke or subdural hemorrhage, but very frequently they're caused by a ruptured aneurysm, which is a copper deficiency. She didn't have expensive urine. How many of you here have ever heard of a guy by the name of Stuart Berger? Stuart Berger, he wrote 5 best-selling books on health and diets and nutrition. He got his medical degree from Tufts Medical School, which is a very fine medical school in Boston, not too far away from Harvard Medical School. And the books he wrote included The Southampton Diet for Weight Loss. He wrote Forever Young, 20 Years Younger in 20 Weeks, and How to Be Your Own Nutritionist. And he died at age 40. How'd you like to follow his dietary practices? He died at age 40 of cardiomyopathy, which is a selenium deficiency. The same cause as white muscle disease or stiff lamb disease. And any farmer can go to a feed store and get selenium pellets or selenium injections, things like Selatoc and Bozy, and so forth. And Dr. Stuart Berger, a guy who wrote 5 best-selling books on nutrition, died of a nutritional deficiency. He didn't have expensive urine. Now, you can totally prevent cardiomyopathy for 10 cents a day. And if we don't do it, we're malignant dumb, I like to call it. You're malignant dumb if you don't take in 10 cents a day worth of selenium. It's a waste of your life. That's one of those landmines you can avoid. The medical treatment of choice for cardiomyopathy is a heart transplant, costs $750,000. I want you to think about that. They get the heart free from a donor. They get the blood free for the surgery from the relatives. They use $2.50 worth of suture material, and they charge us $750,000 for that procedure. Now, 6 months ago in LA, when they had the earthquake, they were putting people in jail for 60 and 90 days for price gouging for selling these terrified people a gallon of water for $4. They put them in jail for price gouging for selling them a gallon of water for $4. Now, to me, that's entrepreneurialism. You know, that's being in business for yourself. If you had a way to distill water and make water, and you had a car and you could get in there and sell those people a gallon of water for $4, hey, more power to you. Because if you go to a 7-Eleven and buy a quart of Evian water, it's $1.29. So 4 of those quarts is $5.
This is the end of side 1. Turn the tape over now and continue listening.
Kind of interesting, isn't it? They said it was price gouging because those people were terrified. Well, talk about a person who needs a new heart. They're terrified. $750,000, we should put those doctors in jail. But we bow to them because, oh, that's high-tech medicine. Out of 270 million people in America, you save about 50 a year. Is that cost-effective? I don't think so. I don't think so. At any rate, Dr. Stuart Berger didn't have expensive urine. Now, here's the last one, and many of you may know this woman. Her name was Dr. Gail Clark. She was age 47. She was the chief cardiologist of the West St. Louis County group of hospitals. She was the chief cardiologist for the St. Mary's Hospital, St. Mary's Health Center in Richmond Heights in St. Louis County. She was age 47. Guess what she died from? Heart attack, a cardiomyopathy heart attack. You can just see her walking down the hall. She's got the stethoscope around her neck. You know, this is their little status symbol. Got my stethoscope around my neck. Back when I was in school, they folded it up very bravely and put it in their pocket. Boom! She falls down. She has a heart attack right in the hall. And, of course, the nurses scoop her up and put her on a gurney, and they call the technicians and another doctor, code 3, code 3, code blue, whatever it is, and they whip her into the room. And you can hear them. Let's say you're a cardiac patient. You're laying there. You're all hooked up to the monitors and the IVs, and you hear them say, okay, tear her clothes off. Okay, stand back. Didn't work. Turn it up. Stand back. And then you hear that terrible sound when you know that the treatment didn't work. The flat line when you know the heart is gone. And everybody walks out of the room dejected, and you say, nurse, what happened next door? And she says, well, your cardiologist, you know, the chief cardiologist of this hospital, age 47, Dr. Gail Clark, just died of a cardiomyopathy heart attack. We can see all the patients, they're holding their gowns. And they're running out of that hospital, leaving their watches and their shoes and their checkbooks and everything and their plastic credit cards because they don't want to get what Dr. Gail Clark got. To me, the Reader's Digest is a magazine that never says anything negative or bad about anybody or any group. It's the sweetest little magazine that ever was. The September 1993 issue features an article that says, can you trust your doctor? It lists 12 ways that doctors scam your money, and I'll let you read 11 of them yourself. I'll give you the worst one. In addition to their income from office fees and surgical fees and lab fees and hospitalization, in addition to all those fees, doctors get a kickback from the labs and the x-ray labs and clinics and hospitals. They get a kickback of $421 every time they send you in for a CAT scan or an MRI. And doctors tell you, oh, we do that because we're practicing defensive medicine, because if I miss something, 1 in 10 billion, you're going to sue me. So I do this just to protect myself. Well, if it was just to protect themselves and you knew them and they knew you, 90% of the people say, oh, just skip it, doc. If you don't really think it's necessary, let's save the money. But they got something more than defensive medicine to worry about. They get $421 in a kickback for every time they send you in for an MRI or a CAT scan. Well, when I practiced for 12 years up in Portland,
All right, so we learned a few things during intermission. Hi, everybody. We learned that the guy who's doing the tape is an extreme sicko who loves to talk about dead doctors, which you would think with the name Dead Doctors Don't Lie, that's obvious. It's obvious this guy loves that doctors are dead. But yeah, this if you skipped intermission, and I don't blame you, this guy was talking about all the obituaries of doctors he was reading, and then just making up these quote unquote hilarious scenarios where like he would talk about them dying in the hospital, and we went through half of the tape, and I don't know if I'm going to be playing the second half. This guy is getting crazier as time goes on. This guy is getting crazier as it keeps going. I didn't know that he was a cholesterol denialist. You can't deny that. You can't deny that cholesterol clogs your heart. We know that. It's the simplest science. All right, I might find another tape. As much as I love listening to MLM quackery, this guy is... He's kind of evil with it more than the other guys. He's just... Yeah, absolute loony bin material. All right, let's go back to something more normal. Interactive entertainment. All right. Oh my God, there's the Chaotix review. That's going to be sick. All right. Good. Okay, oh my God, there's a lost mind of Dr. Brain. All right, we got Bullfrog. No! No, go back. So yeah, if you didn't notice, it just kind of randomly scrolls the menu, so you have to do this really quick or else watch this. See? I'm not doing that.
English game developers Bullfrog
That's a lot of
have
Bullfrog.
established a reputation for themselves by releasing a string of unique and highly addictive games. Now the folks at Bullfrog have been so
desktop
busy
audio
that their
on.
distributor,
My bad.
Electronic
It's
Arts,
fixed.
has so many games in waiting that they're not sure what to release next. Although some of these games are fairly distant, we thought we'd take a look at Bullfrog's hot lineup, which should take them into 1996. Creation is a game you've probably heard a little about already. Set in the future, after radiation and pollution have rendered Earth's land masses uninhabitable, it chronicles human scientists' attempts to preserve the sea creatures by transporting them to a distant ocean world called Creation. After this takes place, they discover an addictive narcotic fungus growing on Creation's ocean's floors that is turning the sea
Give me the
dwellers
narcotic
psychotic.
fungus.
It will be your job to destroy the deadly fungus in this multiplayer-ready game, which runs off an improved version of the Magic Carpet engine.
The Magic Carpet engine,
for late
huh?
95 or early 96 release. Fans of Theme Park will get to try their hands at running a totally different kind of simulation in Theme Hospital. Like Theme Park, the goal here is to turn a profit as you attempt to expand a small clinic into a large, sophisticated hospital.
Tiger Cat, thank you for the raid!
Period of history, appearance, and layout of their hospital, and attempt to keep everything running smoothly and in the black. Theme Hospital is scheduled for release at the end of the year, and incidentally, it's highly recommended for members of Congress. PC superheroes will finally be able to get out of Hoboken in The Indestructibles. This game allows players to design their own superheroes, starting with the appearance of their fully jointed vector bodies. Then each hero is outfitted with a dazzling array of superpowers. You'll test out your creations with a refined version of the Magic Carpet engine. But watch out, crashing into skyscrapers can kill innocent people, and Spider-Man can tell you that a bad rep can hang on your shoulders for decades. The Indestructibles is scheduled to ship this fall. If you're good enough to get through the Hidden Worlds add-on disc, you can take on a whole new challenge with Magic Carpet 2: The Netherworlds. An improved engine means faster and smoother flight. New monsters will make life tough for you, but you'll have a whole new set of spells to fight back with. The sequel will feature underground and night levels, as well as a variety of goals to be accomplished. Expect Magic Carpet 2 to...
Yeah, if you want to know about Magic Carpet, you gotta watch Interactive Entertainment.
Set in the grimmest of futures will revel in the destruction promised by Syndicate Wars. This time, the competition has been whittled down to 3 syndicates battling for world domination. Finally, you'll be able to rotate your view 360 degrees to get those pesky buildings out of your way. Syndicate Wars will feature dynamic light sourcing and effects such as searchlights and fires. The game will debut on the Sony PlayStation this summer, with plans for a PC version early next year. People who have no respect for the entertainment value of genetic mutation should steer clear of Gene Wars. In the distant future,
All right, let's steer
space
clear of
travelers
Gene
find
Wars,
planet
folks.
after planet destroyed by warfare. They find the 4 races responsible and force them to sign a peace treaty. But things aren't that simple. With access to weapons cut off, the races turn to genetic engineering to create vicious monsters to fight their battles for them. In this sci-fi war game, you'll morph animals in real time to create new fighting units. You'll get your chance to play God this summer. Dungeon Keeper will be Bullfrog's first fantasy
I love
RPG,
these guys.
but not a normal
Look
one.
at them.
Instead of playing a band of hardy adventurers, you'll get to play the Dungeon Keeper as you attempt to lure hero after hero to a violent death inside your domain. You'll breed over 40 types of monsters, set traps, and generally make life short and painful for treasure-seeking do-gooders. Although unconfirmed, there's a rumor that in multiplayer games, one person will play the Dungeon Master, and the other 7 will take the role of adventurers. The dungeon crawl begins this fall. With a lineup like that, who needs other companies?
Yeah, fuck 'em.
Bullfrog has a reputation for quality, and it seems they'll be enforcing that rep en masse. Whether you're into role-playing, action, or strategy, Bullfrog has something waiting in the wings that's sure to please you. Keep an eye out for in-depth coverage of each of these hot prospects in upcoming episodes of IE.
What about Chaotix? I said, what about Chaotix, folks?
Isn't it funny how an ocean can make a difference? Chaotix's new adventure for the 32X system has the distinct honor of being the first game simultaneously released in the US and Japan, with 2 different characters at the helm. Japanese gamers will play the game with Sonic as the lead character, while North American 32X owners won't see a glimpse of Sonic, as his understudy Knuckles suits up to whisk us off to Chaotix. As the first true Sonic-style adventure for the 32X, Sega is quick to show off the magic behind their 32-bit processor.
Is that true?
This game shows exactly what a 32-bit platform game should look like.
Did the Japanese
First
version
and
not
foremost,
start
technical
Knuckles,
feats
chat?
aside, Sega has done a great job creating a new atmosphere for Chaotix.
I think, chat,
Some
yeah.
of the level design is
That is
downright
false. That's
ingenious,
what I thought.
and there's a new addition to the game which will cause joy and hatred in all players' minds. The Tether, as Sega calls it, is a special ring force which joins 2 characters together in a force field, and whatever you do with one character is echoed by the other. By manipulating this tether, you can propel the other into the air, across a bridge, or under a passage. Think of it as a virtual seesaw, as whatever you do affects the other
virtual
character.
seesaw.
Suffice to say, this is the first Sonic game where most players will actually have to sit down and invest some time in reading the manual to learn new moves and instructions during the game. Sega is to be commended for creating an online help feature to aid players in the conversion up to Chaotix, showing uneasy gamers exactly how to execute certain commands and moves with the tether. Until you get used to it, the new feature can be extremely annoying. Players who are used to blazing through levels at Sonic speed will be in for a surprise. Nonetheless, the ring force field grew on me after a while, as it allows for much more interesting levels later on in the game. Still, I
Chaotix
question why
was
Sega
not
introduced this feature
good,
during
I
the
don't
first
think.
level of the game. Why didn't
Very
they
different,
wait until
though.
the second or third world and ease players into the near future? Getting back to the game at hand, Knuckles and your new Ring Buddy will enter a carnival, and the fun
Buddy.
and games will start to unfold. Some of the levels in the game are extremely well designed, using the tether for maximum effect on all fronts. The 32X's enhanced scaling is also put to the task here, but the music
Look
and
at
sound
Mighty
effects
Go.
are disappointing, sounding just like a Genesis cartridge. When the final totals are tallied, Knuckles Chaotix includes over 25 gigantic rounds of action with 5 huge 3D
Yeah,
bonus
Ring
levels.
Buddy.
Although it's not the best platform game ever to be burned into silicon, Chaotix should have 32X gamers erupting in chaos, finally proving their investment in the 32X worthwhile.
I'm erupting in chaos right now. Let's see the pros and cons.
Wonderful level design helps this game achieve its high rating.
Yeah, I love
Other
how bad
positive
the
elements of
console
this
stuff
title
looks.
include
It's
great
so
gameplay
nice.
mechanics and character control, along with excellent production values. The 3D bonus stage is especially fun to play and takes advantage of the 32X's capabilities. Sega has kept all the best features of Sonic and added new characters and beefed up the gameplay.
And the cons?
The action does get somewhat monotonous after a few levels. The ring force field between the 2 characters can be very annoying at first and sometimes slows down the pace of the game dramatically. Finally, the graphics are slightly disappointing for the 32X compared to what we've seen Nintendo do with Donkey Kong Country.
It's no Donkey Kong Country, folks. You heard it here. We should also try Sonic the Hedgehog, Gex, and Tempo. Gotcha. All right, what else we got here? We got Clockworks.
Clockworks is not a normal game.
What is this?
The first time you see this thing, it doesn't even look like a game, really. Some kind of weird tinker toy or real-time IQ test, maybe, but not a game.
But it is a game, though. It's the next title in Spectrum Holobyte's puzzle game line, endorsed by Alexei Pajitnov.
Well, I know it's a game now, because I've played it. And played it.
Alexei's always at it.
You just don't stop.
Alexei Pajitnov is the Russian mathematician who created Tetris a few years ago. Now he's endorsing a line of puzzle games that adhere to his design principles.
Cyber Walrus.
The first of those games was Breakthrough.
That was good, but this is better.
Cyber Walrus.
Clockworks doesn't play like any other game out there, but it does have a feel close to the Tetris line.
You mean the addictive gameplay, the puzzles, the action?
Yeah, that was pretty much the point I was trying to make.
In Clockworks, you are in control of a clock hand.
Sounds like a perfectly normal game so far.
Your objective is to move from dot to dot across the playing field to reach the goal dot.
But just doing that isn't enough. To
this
really
game's
get
called
into
Spin
the game,
Doctor.
You should try to
Spin
collect all the
Doctor,
bonus
like
dots. They give you points and
like
they
Danny's
make you
favorite
feel
band?
like a manly man.
Cool.
Like Irish Spring. If you don't collect all the bonus dots, you're just a feeble wimp.
Bet you never thought a puzzle game could insult your manhood, huh?
Your clock hand rotates around the dot it's on, like any good clock hand should. There are 3 ways to move from dot to dot.
Well, 2 really, because one is really for not moving to the next dot.
First off, you can swing from dot to dot. This changes the direction you rotate, making you weave as you go.
Or you can flip, which doesn't change the direction you rotate. This can keep you on one side of a row of dots.
Finally, you can bounce. This won't take you to the next dot. Instead, it'll bounce you off of any dot you touch.
Sounds confusing, doesn't it? It's not. You just have to play it.
Of course, you won't be alone in the game. Most of the game's 100 levels have enemy clock hands that are fatal to the touch. These are the most common dangers. One at a time, they're not bad.
But just try dealing with 3 or 4 of them. Plus, some of them change direction almost at random, and sometimes they have a trail of colored dots to follow. You'll hate them before long.
But there's more than just other clock hands to screw you up. Spikes kill you too, and some of them move around in a pattern.
And there are color-coded doors. These are opened and closed by touch plates,
which are usually activated by enemy clock hands.
This does look kind of fun.
Timing is key in this game, and everything's happening in real time. You have to keep close tabs on everything that's going on, and sometimes that's an awful lot.
Don't tell me you're wimping out.
Hey, just let me know when you're ready to graduate from child mode.
Sometimes you'll find walls in your way. If there are explosives around, you can blow them up.
You don't get to blow stuff up much in puzzle games. I like it.
Of course, if you touch the end of a fuse once it's lit, you're dead.
Well, just don't do that, stupid.
But usually the fuse snakes across the whole screen.
Hey, don't blame me if you can't handle the puzzles. It's not my fault.
Like the Tetris series, Clockworks is alarmingly addictive fun.
Alarmingly.
Nice pun.
Thank you. The puzzles are good and challenging, and there's not just one way to solve them.
This is some of the most fun you'll ever have in Windows. Clockworks is one of the best puzzle games I've ever played. It takes a little getting used to.
But once you get the hang of it, you'll never stop playing. Let's give it a big hand.
Sorry, pun boy, you're out of time.
Sorry, pun boy, you're out of time, is what Danny tells me every time I try to be a jester. All right, what are the pros?
Clockworks is unique in a world filled with second-rate clones. The puzzles are challenging, but don't rely on a single victory path. The game is simple to learn and addictive as hell.
Have no fear, the pun master is here. Let's see the cons.
100 levels is a lot, but you'll want more. Maybe if we badger Spectrum Holobyte enough, they'll release some additional levels.
Let's pester with the jester. What should we also try? No shit, we should try Tetris. Okay. The Russian six-pack, got it. And Breakthrough. Okay. Breakthrough is the classic Breakout, correct? Or am I stupid? Well, I'm obviously very stupid, but... No, we got 8-Ball Deluxe Review. Ooh, look at this. Bally. You'd love to see it.
8-Ball Deluxe. Being a big pinball fan, I rushed right out and bought 8-Ball Deluxe as soon as it was released.
Nice.
Got it home, I discovered that the new viewing system only allowed you to see about a third of the table at once. I hated it. That was almost 2 years ago, and now Amtex has corrected this mistake, or at least given us the option to avoid it, with version 2 of this arcade classic turned PC game.
Quit talking and start chalking.
The improvement
Is this an
Amtex
arcade
has added
classic?
is simple but dramatic. You can
Is
now
this
change
the arcade
resolution of
classic
game
that all
from
the
old 320
arcade
by
fan- or
200
the pinball
all
fans
the way up
love?
to 1024 by 768. That turns your cramped
Pinball
1/3
freaks,
view
speak
into
out.
something a little more aesthetically pleasing. Being able to see the things you're aiming for makes all the difference. The game also plays a little differently in this new version. The ball used to have a nasty
It
and
is
extremely
undeniably
frustrating
classic.
tendency to head
Okay.
straight for the side drain ramps. It still does this some, but not to unrealistic proportions. 8-Ball Deluxe is still a hard table, and it'll take some English to keep the ball in play. The new version of 8-Ball Deluxe is better than
look
its
at the dip
predecessor by a
switches.
factor of 10. It's a fun, challenging, and very realistic recreation of one of the arcade's classic quarter
Ooh,
games.
5 voltage.
If you're a pinball
I'm
fan,
turning the voltage
don't
down,
let 8-Ball
thank you.
Deluxe version 2 pass you by. Computer pinball may be a niche genre, but it's great to have pros like the crew at Amtex there to produce top-quality pinball for us die-hard fans.
Top quality pinball for die-hard fans. What are the pros, Mr. Pinball Man?
The ability to view the whole table at once, as opposed to being stuck with this scrolling view of old, is a godsend. The graphics are great, especially when you play in full table mode. The sounds and feel are just like the old arcade machine, and you don't need to keep your pocket filled with quarters.
You don't need to do that now anyways. They use those cards everywhere you go. Goodbye quarters. Goodbye quarters. All right, what are the cons?
8-Ball Deluxe is not a layman's pinball table. This is a challenging design that makes the player use English a lot more than most tables. If you're a novice, try a different pinball game.
Chat. What do they mean by knowing you have to know English to play this table? What? What on earth? We should also try Crystal Caliburn, Royal Flush, and Tristan Cinco Play. Thank you so very much. Fiddle de Such, thank you so very much for a pinball game that makes me speak English? No way. Thank you. All right, what's up next? We got Fighter Wing V2.0.
Multiplayer games are becoming a big thing in computer gaming, and
English is when you hit the ball with the Q. Okay, I'm learning.
Multiplayer-capable fighter sim.
It does include single-player gaming, but is
Fiddle
designed
de
mostly for
ferning,
modem
this
and network
jester
play.
is learning.
Fighter Wing allows you to create pilots from different countries and fly American or Russian-made planes outfitted with a
Can I
wide
fly
variety
gay
of weapons.
planes?
Play begins with creating a pilot. First, the pilot is given a nationality, then given a choice between flying American or Russian fighters.
Depending on the nationality of the fighter that I chose, I was presented with a different set of scenarios. The scenarios are straight from today's headlines and attempt to give a sense of realism to the game.
The scenario often takes actual world events and twists them to fit the game. For example, the scenario may begin with discussing SALT treaty talks and change actual history just enough to develop World War III. I thought that this was a little more interesting than having totally fictional scenarios.
I really liked the fact that the scenarios aren't always kill-em-all types of missions. In fact, some missions don't
They're
require
not all
shooting down
kill-em-all
enemy
type of
pilots at all.
missions.
That's right, like the mission
I
in
do
which you
love
have to
killing
track
as a
down a nuclear
jester.
missile heading towards Los Angeles. The whole mission is hunting and trying to destroy a single missile.
There are plenty of scenarios
I saw
which
that there
feature
was a
killing
Nerf
a lot
gas
of enemy
thing.
pilots,
Okay,
but it's
we're
nice to have
killing a
some variety
lot.
thrown in along the way. You can also pick which missions you want to play at any time, so one mission doesn't have to be completed before you can proceed to another.
Some scenarios allow you to pick which fighter you want to use. A really wide variety of fighters is given to you to choose from, including the F-16, the Stealth Fighter, and MiG fighters. Each fighter also comes with its own performance specs and production
Yeah,
history.
fiddly fall.
You can
Let's
really
not kill them
feel
all.
the different abilities of the
I'm a
fighters in
loving
flight,
jester.
and after
I don't
flying
like
a
to
few
use
missions
my
and
scepter
experiencing
for
the different
murder
speed and
crimes.
maneuverability of each fighter,
My scepter
you'll
does
soon
not
have a
control
favorite picked out.
drones
And
or
after you pick your
other
fighter,
sorts
there's a
of
ton of weapons
missile
to choose
guidance
from.
systems.
There's machine
It's a
guns,
normal. It's a
external
normal
fuel
scepter
tanks,
for normal
reconnaissance
people.
pods, and enough different missile types to suit any combat need. You can outfit your plane by hand or pick the default load option, and the computer will automatically fit your plane with a solid mix of weapons.
When I first saw Fighter Wing, I was disappointed in the graphics of the terrain. High resolution's not so bad, but running the good-looking stuff makes the game run choppy. You can lower the graphics detail to get more smoothness, but that's unattractive and, well, I thought it was just ugly.
But as you mentioned before, there are a ton
Oh
of
no,
graphic
I've seen
options
quite
that can be
worse.
toggled
This
on
seems
and
like
off
a
so
nice
you can
little
get the
virtual.
game to run
I would
smooth
love
on
to
your
wander
system.
this in
In
VR
medium or
chat and
high
be like,
resolution,
look at
you can
this.
even decrease the screen size to make it
Are
run
there any
faster.
low poly?
But
There's
on my
got to be
Pentium
low
60,
poly
I
worlds
had to
in
make the
VR
screen
chat,
so small that I
correct?
couldn't see the action very well. Not everything looks bad, however. Some nice video footage is included from the television series Firepower. It depicts fighters taking off when you start a
Firepower?
mission, shows missiles firing
Firepower
from an
sounds
actual
like one of
plane
those
when you fire
series
a
that would
missile
get
in the game,
syndicated
and so
in the
forth.
90s
Of
and
course,
you'd
you can
watch
turn
it
the
before
video off if you
Xena.
want. And despite the ugly terrain, the external views of the planes are well done. The detail of the fighters is a real plus considering all the view options available.
And I really like having a lot of viewing options.
I
Fighter
also
Wing
like having a
includes
lot
the
of
basic
viewing
full screen
options.
and cockpit views, as well as views showing your plane to and from the enemy, to and from your wingmen, an action view, which is like a chase plane, the missile view, and more. And the camera is movable on all non-directional views. Fighter Wing was designed primarily as a multiplayer game, which is where its strengths really show through. Up to 16 players can play at one time on a network.
I enjoyed the different types of multiplayer games. Instead of just everyone shooting at everyone else, there are more organized games like Capture the Flag, or you can divide all of the players into teams. If it wasn't for the mediocre terrain, Fighter Wing would have been a good overall game. As it stands, it's not really worth much as a single-player fighter sim, but has real value as a multiplayer game.
I saw in the manual where they make no bones about the fact that this is designed primarily as a multiplayer game.
You can go through PS2
and it's easy
Silent
enough to
Hill
see
in
that
VR
that's where the
chat?
salvation of this
Know
game
what I'm
lies.
doing tonight?
Well, no one expected to compete with Falcon or anything like that, but in offices that have network capability, Fighter Wing could really be a lot of fun. But as far as being a single-player game is concerned, forget it. There's plenty of single-player fighter sims out there that are much better.
Okay. Well, let's check the pros and the...
Take to the
No,
sky.
no. We're checking the pros and the cons, you silly boy. All right, the pros of Fighter Wing.
The multiplayer capabilities really make this program worthwhile. The team play and variety of multiplayer games make it a lot of fun.
And the cons.
The terrain graphics are mediocre, and the gameplay lacks smoothness on high resolution.
Okay, it lacks
Play begins
smoothness. Maybe it should be blended a bit better. We should also try Falcon 4.0 and 1942 Pacific Air War and Fleet Defender. Why are we defending enemas? Anyways, moving on, let's see the next game on the docket. That would be Flight Simulator 5.1.
Take to the skies with the newest edition of the most realistic civilian aviation simulation available for the PC, the CD-ROM and floppy disk version of Microsoft Flight Simulator 5.1. Flight Simulator 5.1 combines advanced scenery design from around the globe with real-world weather effects and new flight challenges designed to provide gameplay thrills to users of all skill levels. Flight Sim 5.1 offers a highly realistic flight sim experience, from the richness of the graphic scenery to the authentic look and sound of the cockpit and dials on the control panel. Building on the success of the world's best-selling entertainment title for the PC, Microsoft Flight Sim 5.1 allows users to sit in the cockpit and control 4 different aircraft in any weather situation, season, or time of day.
Listen, it's
can literally
not
ask where
kosher
in the
to
world
fly
you
into
want to
buildings
go
anymore
today.
with the plane,
Designed
but
for both gaming and flight enthusiasts,
it sounds like
Microsoft
fun.
has enhanced many of
Like
the features
not in
from
the real
previous
world,
versions.
obviously, in the
addition
flight
to
simulator
the improvements
world.
on the old model, there are a number of new features built into Flight Sim 5.1. You will now experience more populated, detailed, and lifelike scenery. The realistic suburban areas, vast and detailed farmlands, sprawling cities, small towns, and other geographical regions with new nighttime and seasonal color effects will make the hours you spend in flight seem like moments. Mountains, coastlines, and water rendered in full 256 color graphics.
That is the
take your
Jester
cross-country
talking.
flight
The
to new
Jester would
heights.
love to fly a
Best
plane
part of all
into
this visual
random
splendor
things.
is that you will not see a slowdown in
Perhaps
frame rates with the additional graphic enhancements.
Disneyland?
In fact, you'll notice that your computer
I
probably
can land
runs
on top of the
version 5.1
castle.
smoother than it did 5.0. Pilots
It's
can face
fine.
the true
They have a
challenge of
they have a
instrument
landing
flight
pad
as
on
they
top of
descend
the
to foggy
Cinderella
Mapes
castle.
Field in Chicago, or fly through various types of cloud cover that they can design on their own. Or you may want the computer to randomly generate the weather for your flight. Flight Sim 5.1 provides exciting game elements for both rookie and seasoned pilots. There are 20 beginner to advanced flight challenges that users can test their skills on. You can play Follow the Leader to try to recover from an out-of-control spin, or test your navigational ability by flying cross-country. The content-rich CD-ROM version
I like
provides
the
armchair
red
pilots with more than
evilness of the
200
dials
additional
here.
airports and navigational signals from around the world. You'll also see enhanced graphic detail and scenery, major mountain ranges, and famous landmarks from around the world. To
Famous?
expand the flight simulator experience,
Cactus Bee, thank you so very much for the raid. Fiddle-dee-day, we are here for a raid. And we're going through
These add-ons, along with the new scenery included with the
Flight
CD-ROM,
Sim.
will expand the Flight Sim world from the current version. The 4 planes included in Flight Sim 5.1 are the Cessna 182RG, the Learjet 35A,
Ooh.
Schweitzer 2.32 sailplane, and the Sopwith
Hello
Camel.
and welcome,
There will be additional
everybody.
aircraft available
It's
throughout
just
flight
time for
software
me to
companies
exit
soon after
gesture
Flight
mode,
Sim 5.1's
so
release. Microsoft
fiddle-dee
has created
chode,
a
I will
follow-up
exit
product that
gesture
not only
mode.
introduces new and exciting features, but has taken some of the most popular
Normal
Flight Sim
time.
aspects
Hi,
from its prior
everybody.
versions and enhanced them. There are also many unique ideas to create a new world that you will want to explore and enjoy for years to come. This preview was based on a beta version of the product. The final version may be different.
Hold on. Let me give a shout out to Cactus Bee. Thank you again so very much. There we go. I'm glad you all like the big fat paws. I do as well.
This just
no, back to menu. There we go. No, we're doing Flight Unlimited. There's so many flight sims this issue. So many flight sims.
I must have dozed off.
What, were you up late last night playing Doom?
No.
The Godzilla Marathon was on last night, wasn't it?
Nope.
900 numbers again?
I want
Well, there's only one other thing
I want to go to the
sleep like
Godzilla
that.
Marathon.
Flight simulators. Well, you've woken up just in time then. We get to review Flight Unlimited.
Another flight sim?
Wake up, wake up. This flight sim's different. It's fun, involving,
He does
graphic
sound
and
a little like the
unmatched,
no swear
and cool.
gamer.
How many weapons are there?
There aren't any weapons.
What kind of bad guys then?
No bad guys.
You don't shoot anyone?
No, you just fly. Wake up and watch this, will you? When you first start out, you're in your fixed base of operations, or FBO for short. This is where you make all of your flight decisions.
Whoa, this looks something like Doom.
That's because it's a 3D environment like Doom, but instead of menus, your choices here are represented graphically. So if you want to fly a biplane, you click on the model of it on the table.
That's, well, I feel strange saying this for a flight simulator. That's cool.
If you think that's neat, wait until you get in the air.
Oh, I get it. This is one of those specially rendered shots that looks great but is nothing like what the actual simulator looks like, isn't it?
Look again, buddy.
I can't believe it.
The graphics in Flight Unlimited are without a doubt the most realistic in any flight sim for the PC.
It looks like actual terrain. Not simulated, but actual terrain.
You're not kidding. It does lose some of its smoothness if you use a lower resolution setting. But if you run it in 640 by 480 mode or higher, you'd swear you were watching a video. And if the drop-dead graphics weren't enough,
Yeah,
Flight
is that the
Unlimited has
beta
lots
symbol
of
up in the
nifty
corner?
viewing
That
features.
looks like
There's a
beta
cinematic
to
view
me.
which gives the effect of multiple camera shots of your plane played in quick succession. And the neat 3-screen view, which allows you to see ahead, left, and right all at the same time.
What's this headset option for?
There's a view that puts you in the cockpit, and if you have any kind of virtual reality headgear, you can look around your environment like you were actually there.
Ooh.
The hat switch on joysticks will work
I want
the same
that.
way.
I want
When
that.
playing Flight Unlimited, you can tell that it was written with a good sense of humor.
Guess I picked the wrong night to quit sniffing glue.
Stop it. Shots like Godzilla there, postcards from the flight area you've just been in, and pictures of the design staff messing
I like
around
them.
give Flight Unlimited a real tongue-in-cheek feel to it.
Whose tongue and whose cheek?
Watch it. But don't think that the humorous portions of Flight Unlimited make it any less of a simulator. All of the features of Flight have been very realistically recreated.
One big problem we have here is that I don't really know how to fly that well.
Well, check out the lessons, which take you from the extreme basics of flight to advanced aerobatics. Complete with drawing board examples and an instructor who talks to you while you fly, it's gotta be the next best thing to actual flight lessons. One problem you might have is that while it is an absolutely incredible flight simulator, Flight Unlimited remains just that, a
Yeah, I
flight
was going to
simulator.
say, how
So with
well
all
would
of its
this run in
advanced and
640 by
well-done features,
480?
It all comes down to one fact. There ain't nothing to shoot.
There are hoop courses to fly, but you still aren't flying directly against anyone else. Other than that, you pretty much just fly around. If you thought you might enjoy a flight simulator, this is the ticket. Flight Unlimited is without a doubt the best looking and most fun flight sim available.
It's not quite as avionically involved as the Microsoft package in that there aren't any advanced electronic navigational doohickeys to mess with. It's for the person who just wants to fly or learn to fly.
Flight Unlimited is like taking off
Where
from
did
your
you learn
local
to
airfield
fly?
and
From
enjoying
Flight
yourself flying
Unlimited.
around for the day. I don't know how they got the graphics to look like they do, but it's frighteningly realistic. If you're a Flight Sim fan, you have to get Flight Unlimited.
All right, we got to get Flight Unlimited, but what are the pros and cons of this bad boy?
Just about everything is right about Flight Unlimited. The main thing you'll notice are the graphics. It's like watching a video while flying. Throw in all of the extra great features and you have one of the best packages, Flight Simulator or not, of the year.
And the cons?
If you like lots of action, Flight Unlimited is going to be boring. Also, in order to get the ultra-realism that Flight Unlimited is capable of, you're going to need a pretty good system to run it on.
We should also try Microsoft Flight Simulator. Done and done. Actually, I've never played Microsoft Flight Simulator. What about Frontier First Encounters?
First Encounters is actually the sequel to Elite 2 Frontiers, which is in turn the sequel to Elite, the popular space trading adventure game.
First Encounters has the same basic premise as the 2 previous games. That is, you start out with a ship and a small amount of money,
you should try
and you
it,
make your
though.
way through the galaxy trading commodities and taking on extra jobs
You might
to
get
earn
it to
more
explode.
credits.
At the beginning of the game, you start out with a small fighter with one gun. You'll soon be wanting to upgrade the weapons and shields of your ship since when you start out, if someone just breathes hard on your ship, you explode.
I actually had that happen. I was flying around and this guy snuck up on me in his ship and he breathed on me and I blew up.
Anyway, you have a lot of different lasers and missiles to choose from, but your ship will only hold so much. And after a while, you'll need to upgrade to one of the different ships available in order to hold the weapons and still have enough room for cargo.
At the beginning of the game, the main way to make money is through trading, which is controlled through the stock market. Stock market prices differ at each port depending on the industrial and social status of the star system the port is in. There are so many places to go, I had some difficulty remembering what commodities sold best at certain stations. It would have been nice if some kind of online notepad was included in the game to help log prices and locations.
I found that after doing some research on what systems buy and sell at the best prices, I was able to establish safe trade routes. Once I found a pair of planets that needed what the other offered, I just went back and forth
Yeah, I
between
like
those
games
two.
like this.
It's a boring way to start the game, but it was better than getting blown up all the time. And it really doesn't take that long to get some real money going, which allows you to arm your ship and spread out your trade routes.
Each of the ports has an electronic bulletin board where you can find other odd jobs to do for money. You can taxi people and packages around the galaxy, sell information that you've gathered, contract out to retire someone into the infinite, and more. Of course, the riskier the job, the higher the price. Bulletin boards are also a great place to buy and sell items which may be frowned upon by the law.
I thought that the bulletin boards really helped to create the feeling of being in a living universe. You interact with people through a set of preset questions and statements.
I want half
since
the money
everyone
now.
doesn't speak
I want
the
all the
same
money
language.
now.
It's fun to see what people have prices on their heads, who's leaving town, and so on. Of course, all these people are prime opportunities to earn lots of credits.
Every player has a legal rating, which is based on your actions as you cruise the galaxy. As you go gallivanting from planet to planet, you're bound to, accidentally break a few legal restrictions. Your legal status affects what missions are available to you and what places you can go to safely. The police are always watching for lawbreakers to enter their system space.
You're also given a combat rating, which improves as you rack up the kills. And just like your legal status, the combat rating influences things like the kinds of jobs you'll be able to get. If you have a combat rating of harmless, you won't be able to contract a hit on Bob the Mafia boss.
I
because
have
they'll
a
want
combat
someone
rating
with
of
more
harmless,
experience.
unfortunately.
On the other hand, pirates won't be so eager to attack a pilot who has been rated as deadly. There's more to this than just killing and making money. I found that the subplots and stories going on throughout the game really make First Encounters come alive. The 5 galactic journals, which you can subscribe to, help keep you up to date on all the latest news.
You're able to take part in some of the stories you read about directly, while others give you clues in finding prime trading locations. This gives the game added depth, since you really can interact and influence what's going on in the universe.
The graphics are decent, excelling at the fluid 3D motion of the ships and space stations. Although the graphics don't look super realistic, everything works very well together. When the ships fly by, or even when you're docking at a space station, things move and feel just like you'd expect.
Don't misunderstand, the graphics don't look bad, they just look cartoonish sometimes. However, when you access the bulletin board or station services, you're greeted with a digitized video of a person greeting you. Having the hologram say hello was a very nice idea that added another touch of realism to the game.
Even if it does get annoying after popping up
I miss the
every
hologram
single
that used to
time
be at the
saying
Central
same kind of
Library.
stuff.
She's
But
been
you
shut
can
down
turn it
for
off.
years.
Which we did.
There is so much
Bring her
more in
back.
First
Bring back
Encounters. We
this
simply
awesome
don't have
Central
time to get to
Library
it all.
hologram. I
This
miss
is
her.
a very deep game which becomes very addictive once you learn everything.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I found it was quite complicated to learn how everything on the ship works. This isn't because of any errors on the part of the game's designers, but because there are a ton of functions to access. However, the manual is very comprehensive and well written, which helps a lot.
Once you get established in gameplay, First Encounters really sucks you in. Be prepared to spend a lot of time on it, though. It's a very good space trading adventure, which you'll be not really
I like
playing,
space trading, but this looks like it'd make my brain explode. But let's see the pros and cons.
First Encounter. Once First Encounters gets a hold of you, you'll be hooked.
Cool.
GameTech has created a large universe, and it's up to you to decide how you interact with it. The storylines and subplots you can get involved with really add a dimension of depth that is very impressive.
And the cons.
Some folks may be put off by the game's initial difficulty. It's very easy to be destroyed when you first start out, and it takes time to discover good trade routes and bargains.
We should also try Elite 2 Frontiers, Gazillionaire, which is really, I like Gazillionaire a lot, and Millennium Auction. I just want to play Gazillionaire. All right. Next up, we have the Gex 3DO review. Fuck, let's go.
When Kermit the Frog said, "It's not easy being green," he wasn't kidding. Just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Kermit's lily pad on the pond is 3DO's latest hero, the irreverent Gex, a green lizard with an attitude, courtesy of comedian Dana Gould. As the game that has long been touted as Sonic for 3DO, Gex from Crystal Dynamics doesn't try to camouflage the fact that the underlying concept is a simple platform game jazzed up with more pizzazz than Las Vegas at night.
More pizzazz than Las Vegas at night.
Has not been a prime concern of the 3DO machine, leaving that territory to the big boys such as Nintendo and Sega. Gex is in a whole league by itself, showing Nintendo and Sega that this lizard is at the top of the video game food chain. The animation for Gex is 3D rendered similar to Donkey Kong Country, but the enemies are hand-drawn sprites as seen in most conventional platform epics. Obviously, the high color resolution graphics allow for an impressive palette of colors. But what kind of picture does Crystal Dynamics paint with this palette? What results is a portrait of a fly-swatting, web-tangling, amphibian fest of a game encompassing some 5 different worlds of play. Gex's exploits begin in the cemetery zone as he battles evil monsters and enemies throughout this ghostly land. Gex has some incredible abilities such as climbing walls and becoming a virtual worm around the screen. This new echelon of playability allows the game to have much more depth than the average platform title. Other lands on Gex's journey include Cartoon World and the extremely impressive jungle setting. Comedian Dana Gould provides some delightful feedback during gameplay, such as the fact that Gex will utter the words, "This level looks familiar," when you perish and have to restart the level. All in all, a first-class production from the first bit of code right down to the last few crumbs. Gex extracts the best elements of hit platform games such as Sonic and Mario, and adds its own new ingredients to this successful mix. The ability to climb all over walls and through the environment adds a third dimension to the game with some impressive levels and extremely well-programmed play mechanics. Although the gameplay is often overlooked in these types of titles, there is no hiding the fact that Gex works primarily because the character is easy to control with his tail flaps and fly traps. Although the genre may have been hashed to pieces on other systems, Gex is worth a look. This is the kind of game that will make consumers sit up and recognize what 3DO can produce.
Okay, Gex will make people sit up and recognize. What are the pros of Gex?
Seldom does a game work on every level, but Gex is one of the few games which deserves that distinction. The game controls very well, the production quality is high, and there's a tremendous atmosphere surrounding the entire experience.
But what are the cons of Gex?
Although there are very few negative points about the game, I was not a big fan of some of the scoring decisions. For instance, if you fall into a pond, Gex is automatically killed in action on the spot. I would have much preferred to just lose some power but still continue on with the rest of the level. Furthermore, I've noticed some slowdowns on screen when many enemies are nearby.
We should also try Soccer Kid. Chat, we need to try Soccer Kid, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Bubsy 2. Bubsy 2, really? Not the original Bubsy? Bubsy 2, not the original, but the much worse, much degraded, dog shit Bubsy 2? I don't think you're a real platformer, Heads, Interactive Entertainment. Perhaps you should interact with some better platformers. All right, next up, it's we already saw the interview, so we're going to do Iron Assault.
This just in from the news desk, MechWarrior 2 is still not out. Now, all of you who are waiting for MechWarrior 2 are probably at the point where you'll latch on to any big robot game that comes along, like Iron Assault.
You really think so?
Sure, the market starved for this kind of game.
But Iron Assault isn't this type of game.
What is it then?
A Doom clone.
Someone say Doom! Buzz off, Throg.
That's me.
Doom
I'm
clone,
Throg.
huh?
Yeah, and a bad one too.
Would you mind explaining yourself?
I will, but first, let's show them the
Yeah, welcome,
snazzy
Nintendo.
intro.
Yeah, I just finished up the Gex
Told you
review.
it was snazzy. I'll bet that's more snaz that you know what to do with.
Now, if by snaz you mean really stupid-looking video, yeah, this game's got more than enough.
Hey, Professor
This intro
Gaskin, thanks for the
sets stage
follow.
for the game, which takes place in the bleak near future.
I want to hear
Oh,
Throg
boy.
talk about Gex.
It's the corporations against the rebels, and they're both armed with big robots that look like they're straight out of some cheapo Japanese stop-motion flick that never got released.
And that guy doing the voiceover.
No way, this looks
just
good.
listen
I
to
don't know
him.
what they're
He
talking.
sounds
Also,
like an extra
that
from
sounds
Plan
sick.
9 from outer space.
I would love to see some
You
stop
have fought
motion.
against all odds to repel the horrific onslaught.
Yeah.
A band of rebels who have been able to amass a force strong enough to fight back, possibly even win.
So you're fighting for the rebels, you're stationed at this base, and you get your missions from this computer.
I like the computer. In fact, I thought it was one of the best things about the game.
That says a whole lot.
No, really. It shows you the layout of the area you're about to dive into, tells you what types of enemy units you're likely to find, and even shows you a little piece of video.
Of course, it's that stupid-looking video like the intro. Now let's talk about something that's really bad.
How about the graphics? Bad enough for you?
Yeah, those are pretty bad, all right. So much for the unprecedented graphic realism the box bragged about, huh?
You should know by now never to trust a box cover. This game is just plain ugly. The color schemes are drab and the art, please.
Yeah, I
But
don't
you
know
can
why
play
they don't
four
like
different
this game.
types of
I think it
terrain.
looks fine.
That's 4 different shades of ugliness. That's gotta be worth something.
It looks
Now
good.
let's
What the
talk
hell?
about the gameplay.
It's bad. Next subject, please.
No, we need more detail than that. You were going to explain your Doom clone theory.
Oh yeah, it goes like this. The designers...
Graffiti.
Sure. Schmoes Are Us, they were contracted to do a game like
Schmoes
Earthsea
Are
or Mech
Us,
Warrior
huh?
2. But the only game any of them had ever played was Quarter 7. I loved Quarter 7. So they made a game that played like Quarter 7, because they didn't know how to do anything else. But they drew in a cockpit and robots so they wouldn't get fired.
Folks, if that sounds a little far-fetched, just play the game. You're in what appears to be a very large robot.
But it feels like you're playing Quarter 7.
I know, you have radar and ECMs and all that jazz, but the battle areas are so small you practically have no use for any of it.
Yeah,
You
I
can
love
move
how
your
they're
head
just
from
big
side to
haters
side
in
to
this
fire at
review.
enemies that aren't right in front of you, but that's about the only mech-like thing you can do.
Well, your forward momentum stays on instead of you having to keep the forward key held down. That's about it. If you're looking for an early replacement for Mech Warrior 2, keep on looking.
I've just gotta mention the dual cockpit system.
Ooh, that was very pointless. Go for it.
Well, your robot has 2 cockpits, an upper one for navigation and a lower one for combat. According to the manual, the lower one has
I want
more
to talk
information.
to these.
Now
I want to
take a
talk to
look.
these reviewers about video
One
games at a
front-view
drag
screen,
brunch.
one
You know
multifunction
they
readout.
would get so
They're the
catty
same,
with
Jim.
it.
Talk about a waste o' time.
Okay, I will, but a different
I just
one.
want to go to a
The
drag
joystick
brunch. I've never
control
been.
For Iron Assault supports one button.
They still do
That's
those? They
it.
should.
You can fire with the joystick, but the stick itself is useless. All your movement and other stuff still has to go through the keyboard.
This is a very well thought out game.
Yeah, just like Outpost.
So, Iron Assault isn't going to win any awards for art, originality, or technological expertise. On the other hand, it's a strong contender for Shovelware of the Year.
If you think it's a mech game, you've been misled. Iron Assault tries to pass itself off as a substitute for Mech Warrior 2, but in fact, it's a lame Doom clone and not much more. Stay away.
If I see the people who made Iron Assault, I will attack them on site. It's on site for Iron Assault. What are the pros?
Iron Assault is much easier to learn than a complex simulation game like Earthsiege, and the mission briefings are quite informative.
The mission briefing's quite informative, so what are the cons?
The digitized video is amateur quality and reeks of shovelware. The sounds would be more appropriate to an 8-bit Nintendo than a PC. The graphics are absolutely hideous with bland colors that drain a person's will to play.
They're not
The
that
action is more
bad.
reminiscent of a bad Doom clone than any robot game out there. A joystick can only be used to fire and can't be used to move your robot.
We should also try Corridor 7, Virtuoso, and Jump Raven. Oh boy, they really don't like this game. All right, what we got next? Jewels of the Oracle, huh?
Discus may not exactly have a long and distinguished career of game design, but they're definitely off to a good start with their new puzzle game, Jewels of the Oracle, designed by Eloy Productions.
And to help us take a quick look, we've got a very special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the title character, the Oracle.
It has begun. You shall go with me. Our city and our ways will you embrace.
He's a little stiff, folks. You'll have to forgive him. It's his first time out of the temple.
In Jewels of the Oracle, you are an archaeologist who discovers the remains of an ancient civilization who were more interested in developing their intellectual skills than in combat and weapons.
You'll notice they aren't around anymore.
The snake baking in the sun attends decisions already made.
Yeah, whatever.
Cool.
Anyway, there's this beautiful thing floating on the ancient altar.
That looks
and when you come
delicious.
in, it all blows up and scatters to the four winds.
My gems!
Eventually, you
My
make your
delicious
way
gems!
here to the well room, and you get to choose between 30 different puzzles. Every puzzle you solve properly brings one of the jewels back.
Ultimately, the idea is to get all of them back and restore the civilization to its former glory. Mind you, I'm not so sure that's a good idea. What about Darwinism? Survival of the fittest, stuff like that?
This is not a place to risk conjecture.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jeez, don't take it so personally.
The puzzles are, for the most part, really tricky, so don't think you're going to restore all the jewels in an afternoon.
Okay, but some of them are either too easy or too familiar. For example, this is a version of the old wolf, sheep, and rat puzzle. I must have learned this in 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah, it's an old gambit, but you have to admit it looks amazing. The designers worked very hard on making the puzzle devices look not only realistic, but very old.
So there's all these cool things lying around for you to mess with, and they're usually made from really big and heavy materials. Lots of stone and wood.
There's a nice balance struck between solving the straightforward 7th guest type puzzles and just looking around at the cool environment, trying to figure everything out and where it fits, like in Myst.
Part of the challenge is figuring out what you're supposed to do with the objects in the first place.
Just like Myst.
No one flat out tells you the rules. The best you get is our friend the Oracle, and it's his job to be obscure.
Pursue what path you may, so long as your endeavor leads you to wisdom.
My point exactly.
You can't get to everything all at once. The well room is set up so that 6 of the puzzles cannot be reached until you solve 4 adjacent ones.
I wish there was some way to bypass all the walking around you have to do. It's all done in QuickTime movies, and the game does include version 2.0, which is still a bit choppy and slow.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Myst is one thing where there are so many new and strange places to visit. Here it's pretty much walking back and forth from the well room to the puzzle, to the well room to the altar, and back again to the well room. Every door opening calls up the same psychedelic travel sequence. They should have either added more variety to this aspect of the game or allowed you to just skip past it.
Do not neglect the long route, if it is the only path.
Silly me, I forgot the philosophical side of things.
The tone of Jewels is very relaxing. There's no risk of dying, and you can try the puzzles as many times as you want. If a puzzle is getting the better of you, you can change to an easier skill level at any time.
Of course, it's also true that not everybody likes a
that
relaxing
PS1
game.
is that important in
If
Japan?
the idea
Okay.
of wandering around an underground labyrinth filled with ancient devices, hieroglyphics, and other artifacts, with no possibility of encountering any monsters has you wondering, what's the point? Then this is probably not the game for you.
You got any advice for those folks, Oracle?
Retrace your eager steps and seek the jewels of inward light.
I was gonna say that.
But there certainly is a market for a good puzzle game. There's lots of great stuff to explore in Jewels of the Oracle, as well as some very satisfying graphic and audio payoffs.
If there is such a thing as a meditative game, Jewel fills the bill. This is tailor-made for people who like puzzles but get ticked off at the cuteness of lemmings. Any final comments, Mr. Oracle?
Anyone ticked off by the cuteness of
nature
lemmings?
may not be overcome. Be resigned to contemplation
Gotcha.
of the earth, wind, moon, and sun.
Crushing Ceiling, thank you for the follow. Let's see the pros and cons of Jewels of the Oracle.
The visuals are exciting and very carefully textured to give the feeling of great age.
Yeah,
The
what
puzzles are
pisses
very
me off about
challenging,
Lemmings is
and
not
if they
its
get to be
cuteness.
too much, you can play an easier version. Lots of smooth motion thanks to QuickTime movies.
And the cons?
A few of the puzzles are a bit too familiar to provide an appropriate challenge. Also, there should be more variety in the traveling sequences. The same series of flaring lights just doesn't hack it.
We should also try Mist, the seventh guest in Hodge and Podge, the classic Hodge and Podge. All right, what's next on the docket? We've got Lemmings 3D. Let's fucking go.
They're cute, they're cuddly, they're stupid as a doorknob, and they're back.
They're back.
Psygnosis is bringing back those lovable lemmings for a fourth game. But the challenge has risen to a whole new level. When Psygnosis' contract with DMA Designs ran out, they commissioned Clockwork Games to create a new sequel, and now you have to guide those green-haired goofballs through 3 dimensions of danger. If you're not familiar with the earlier Lemmings games, where have you been? The object is to guide a
I don't
steady
know where
stream
I've
of
been.
little
I've been in
animals
my
to the exit
house.
on each level.
It's really
A lemming
hot
will just
outside
keep
lately.
walking unless it's told to do something
It's
else,
like way
like
hot
block other
lately.
lemmings or build stairs or dig a hole. You have to rescue a certain number of lemmings to move on to the next level. If things get hopeless, you get the fun of nuking the remaining lemmings and starting over.
I
In
do like-
Lemmings 3D,
oh my
the principle
God.
is the same, but the puzzles are no
Oh.
longer restricted to a simple side view. You can view the action from any of 4
I don't know
different
about
cameras,
this.
and they're all completely maneuverable. If a camera gets into an awkward position, it's very easy just to shift to another camera. When you pause the game, the lemmings stop moving, but you can continue to explore the terrain as long as you want and start the action again whenever
Can
you want.
I ask a
The
really
cameras
sick
can also be
question?
put into virtual lemming mode.
Chat,
When this is selected,
do you think
click on
lemmings
one
would
of the
taste
on-screen
good?
Lemmings, and suddenly you get to see the world through his eyes. This becomes critical to the strategy when the lemmings go through small openings that the cameras can't fit through. You can even
No,
piggyback
no,
this
no,
effect and
no,
hop from
no,
one lemming's
no,
perspective to
no,
another.
no.
This
Yes.
effect has caused the
Be
IE
like
staff to
eating
give
a
this the
rat.
affectionate name of
That's fair.
Doomy. In
Fuck
keeping
no.
with the
All
added
right,
third dimension,
do
a very
not
important new
eat
skill has been added.
lemmings.
Now you can
They
not
probably
only
taste
make
like
the
guinea
lemming
pigs,
parade
okay.
reverse 180 degrees with a blocker.
Too lean,
You can
they're way
now
too
use a
skinny.
turner to pivot them
I
90
don't know, they're a little blobby
Don't
looking.
waste
Look
these
at that.
Like all the
See?
skills,
Look
you
at that
only get to use
dumper.
them
They've
so
probably
many
got a little
times
fat
per
on
level.
them.
The levels
Little
also have
marbling.
extra elements thrown in. While the enemies
Just get
from
one of the
Lemmings
lemmings that just
Chronicles have been
stands
abandoned,
put. They should
you
have good
to maneuver
marbling.
your little guys around trampolines,
Loads of
springboards,
bones,
deflector
okay.
panels, slippery ice, and killer mud.
Oh, I don't like
Hey,
that.
No one said it would be easy. After attempting a level once, the next time you
Ah,
play,
no,
the
I'm just
computer
hungry.
goes
I'm
into
making
an
a-
automatic replay mode.
I'm
This is a
making
great
Texas
feature. You
caviar
don't
for
have to
dinner
recreate
tonight,
every
so
move that you've already done
it's a
right.
bunch of beans
Instead, just watch the level being
and
played the way you did before, and when you get near the
and,
point where you messed up, click
corn.
the mouse and start playing again.
Oh, and
When
tomato.
Lemmings 3D is released this summer, it will boast 100 new levels in 10 differently themed areas, from a circus setting to a big lemming head. Lemmings fans everywhere
I do
will
not
get
eat the
sucked
Texas
in
caviar
all
on
over
Texas
again.
toast, unfortunately. Okay, so they were like, oh, it looks so bad. Oh, we're almost done here. All right, we did the Looking Glass Company profile. We learned that one guy looked really cool. Let's learn about Lost Eden.
Okay, kids, here's a quick quiz. True or false? Man and dinosaurs once lived on planet
I'd rather
Earth
eat the
together.
lemmings than the
You can't
worms
fool
from
me on
worms.
this one. I saw Jurassic Park and the Flintstones. The answer is true.
Good going. Of course humans and dinosaurs used to live together. There's a conspiracy of science teachers trying to make you believe otherwise. But the truth will win out thanks to great journalistic products like Lost Eden from Cryo and Virgin Interactive.
This is one of the more bizarre stories I've ever seen about that distant time. Usually the men involved are primitive, stupid caveman types with a big eyebrow ridge.
I used to date a guy like that in the 7th grade.
Well, anyway, the humans here are more or less civilized
I like the
types who
music.
build great citadels and sell intelligent sauropods into slavery.
At least until the big nasty bad guy, Morcus Rex, came along with his army of tyrannosaurs and ate everything in sight.
Cool.
Now the humans are on the run, and whatever connection they have with the good guy dinosaurs is all but gone.
Surprise, surprise, this is where you come in.
Yes,
Me?
it's a job for Hero Man. You're a prince of the realm named Adam.
Get it? Adam? Lost Eden? Get it?
It is your job to restore the trust between the vegetarian dinosaurs and humans to defeat Morcus the Dorcas. So you're probably looking at these graphics and you're thinking,
Yowza! That's gorgeous!
and I have to agree. This is a stunning looking product. That won't surprise anyone who's familiar with other Cryo products like Dragon Lore and Commander Blood. Lots of impressive cameras swooping and rendered dinos that move realistically. It's intensely cool.
Yo,
looking.
it's on Bandcamp.
Can't
Hold
beat
on.
the visuals, by golly.
There's just one problem.
You mean the way the actual gameplay taxes your mind about as much as ordering a cheeseburger?
Well,
Okay,
that's
I'm
one
saving
way
this
of
link,
putting
so
it.
I actually
Maybe
really
this
like this
game
and I
is
want to
more
hear it
intended
later.
for kids or for inexperienced players. But
Yeah,
anyone
that's what
with
I'm
the
talking
slightest
about.
bit of experience with computer adventure
Thank you
games
for the link.
will
I am
find
gonna be
Lost
listening to that
Eden be
later.
almost insultingly simple.
Could have used some difficulty settings, that's for sure.
The puzzles are the most basic
Look at that
things
guy!
you've ever seen.
I wanna look
And
like
if they
that.
aren't easy enough for you, you're forced to endure lots of hand-holding hints from your companions. That's right, forced. Some major hit-you-over-the-head obvious hints are included as part of the main dialogue.
It's funny, you just used the word dialogue as though your character was ever allowed to get a word in edgewise.
Good point. Adam is the quietest hero this side of Clint Eastwood. You don't talk to people, you give them a chance to talk at you. They talk at you for a while, then they stop, meaning you should click the mouse, then they start talking again.
Apparently, the clicking of the mouse translates into Adam either nodding his head or saying something encouraging like, or go on. It saves you that awkward dialogue decision process.
Cryo
just like
is
in
my
real
version
life.
of Alex calling
To be
Mighty
fair,
Ducks
the
2 up
game
its
does
own
get
ass.
marginally more difficult and interesting
little
once you
bit.
get into the so-called strategy portion of the game.
Of course, it's probably a good idea for a company to put the better part of a game up front so players won't stop playing before they get to
This
it.
bird's staring
but
at
that's
me.
just me talking.
You have to travel around your kingdom, convincing the dinosaurs around that they should help you build citadels against the invading Tyrannosaurs, and that you are not planning to sell them to the lowest bidder afterwards.
This involves such important points of strategy as figuring out which dinosaurs like apples, which are partial to mushrooms, which would really like a few gold nuggets, bird nests, or whatever you got really. Then you give them what they want, and they help you. And you try not to get eaten by the bad guys. That's the strategy.
Having established that this game will not exactly serve as a replacement for the morning cup of coffee, it's interesting that Cryo decided to use a nice, relaxing, eco-friendly, world-beat New Age soundtrack as the background.
Keep in mind, we are not making fun of the music. Any of the segments here could probably have made tons of money as the latest Enigma release.
It does tend to mellow you right into the friggin' ground. There is such a thing as being too relaxed, especially when you're trying to keep your mind on a game.
Well, good thing it's so easy to play then,
The good news is that this simplicity also extends to the interface.
which is where it should always be in the first place.
You've got this cool rolling cube as a mouse cursor. As you move it across a part of the screen, an icon appears on the cube's faces telling you what you can do. Then you click to do it.
Now, if only they would have developed an actual game to implement this interface with.
Whether you like Lost Eden or not really depends on what you're looking for. If you want something pretty on your screen, you won't find much prettier than this. It's smooth and exotic. It's got an unusual storyline. It's very, very easy to play.
On the other hand, if you were hoping for something with even a modicum of challenge for someone above the age of 12, there's got to be somewhere else you can go. This game will not drive you crazy, it will put you to sleep.
What a ringing endorsement. Having trouble with insomnia? Play Lost Eden.
You know, I think I think they were a little down on oh my god, I hate that it does this. I'm sorry, this is the absolute worst thing about there we go. What are the pros?
There is no denying how great this game looks. The soundtrack is also quite interesting. It's sort of
Yeah,
new
why don't we let
agey
this
and
guy
world
sleep?
beaty. The interface is incredibly easy to figure out, as is the whole game. If you're looking for something to start you out in the world of computer games, you could do worse than this.
But what are the cons?
If you're looking for even the slightest challenge, stay away from this. It's way too easy. You don't even get the fun of picking dialogue. You just listen to everyone talk at you, then you go save the world. Ho-hum. It's all graphics and little to no game.
Boo. We should also try Dune, Dragon Lore, and Commander Blood. God, Commander Blood is so cool. I need to finish that game at some point. All right, next up, we got a classic of game, Lost Mind of Dr. Brain.
I am Dr. Thaddeus P. Brain III. I am the Puzzle Master.
Sierra doesn't seem satisfied with their near domination of the adventure game market. They're also kicking serious butt with their puzzle games lately.
Amen to that. If the Incredible Machine series wasn't enough, the continuing saga of Dr. Brain will place them yet another rung or two up the industry's puzzle ladder.
The Lost Mind of Dr. Brain is the third installment of the series. I've never played the first two, but I think I'm going to have to do that now if they're anything like this. It's diverse, addictive, and challenging as hell.
This is one of the very few games on the market that are genuinely for the whole family. The novice level will definitely challenge younger players, and the medium difficulty level, expert, will have most adults scratching their heads.
The genius level just plain causes pain, in a good way, of course.
The plot is a little weird.
And almost completely dispensable, Dr. Thaddeus P. Brain
The P is for puzzle.
performed a goofy experiment and transferred most of his intelligence into his pet lab rat, Ratbone. Now you have to undo every puzzle he's ever done to restore his mind. Of course, given what he did with it the last time, maybe he doesn't deserve a second chance.
But now it's time for
fuck
my
Dr.
one major
Brain.
complaint with this game. In a weirdo switcheroo on most stuff on the market today, the opening animation is painfully slow and difficult to watch, while the real game is excellent, fast-moving, and nifty. You might just as well skip over the intro and get to the good stuff.
Okay, skip
There
the
are
intro. Got it.
10 major puzzle areas you have to solve in order to restore the doctor's brain. The 10th won't show up until you complete the first 9.
Other than that, you can pretty much take things in any order you want. This is an incredibly versatile interface. Even the difficulty setting can be changed at any time during the proceedings.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts too. Since there are so many weird things you'll have to do, you'll probably want to start on novice most of the time, and the computer does that for you. The first time you enter a puzzle area, you're always on novice.
This is all worked out in a neat percentage balance. Every novice puzzle is worth 5% of the total needed to complete that level. Expert puzzles are worth 10%, and geniuses
are a dime a dozen.
Cute, very cute. Genius level puzzles are, of course, worth 15%.
Well, technically, this is marketed as an educational product. This is not the kind of solid stuff you learn in school.
The education going on has to do with what parts of your brain you exercise to solve the puzzles. This is all related to Dr. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences.
Yes, folks, you heard right. The game instruction manual has academic footnotes.
The puzzles cover a wide range of mental activity,
God, look at
from
him.
3D reconstruction of a multi-level object to rearranging scrambled
he's
music
so good.
to basic computer programming
I love this
techniques.
rat
There's
man.
even a
I know I've
funky
already said that
arcade
before, but look at
game Where
him.
the object is to get
That's
the
me.
neurotransmitters to the receptor on the other side of this wide open area of synapse. The mouse creates a repelling field when you click it, so you have to push the little guys along as best as you can.
This one has a western theme, and you can hear the little critters galloping and mooing as they run.
Which brings us to the bizarre humor that dominates this game. In every puzzle, Rathbone the Rat adopts a different ethnic accent, all performed by the highly talented Rodney Sherwood.
And the character animation is amazing. The lips match up perfectly with the lines as they're delivered, and it's almost impossible to do. Someone should get a raise.
While some of the games are pre-programmed, some, like Pentoad here, are random and require the player to pay great attention to what's going on. You try and match the different symbols as Rathbone calls them out, and you can play this game with either Roman numerals, sign language, Greek, or the elements.
By the way, when you do finally finish a level,
You
that
hate
doesn't
this
mean
mouse?
you have
Well,
to
too
stop
bad.
playing. Sierra has included
That's going to be
tons
my
of
new
extra
avatar
puzzles
now. I'm
for
going to
when
be this
players
awful
get hooked.
mouse.
Now that's planning. And the autosave kicks in when you finally quit from exhaustion.
Not to put down on Lemmings or any other puzzlers around, but you almost never get a range of activity going like Dr.
Yeah,
Brain.
the
I
ethnic
guess that's the
accent
most
thing
impressive
isn't
thing
so
about this product.
good.
It's not just one good puzzle concept, it's 10 of them. And you can play them at whatever level you want for as long as you want until your head explodes.
Even if you don't have kids, you should go buy The Lost Mind of Dr. Brain right now.
If you do have kids, you should have bought it yesterday.
All right, let's see the pros and the cons.
This is everything a puzzle game should be. There's nothing you can't adjust anytime you want. Stuck on a puzzle? Get an online hint. Dumb it down a notch and try again. Stop in the middle and do something else. You want to ignore the story and keep playing Pentoad? Be my guest. Want to just quit in the middle? There goes the autosave. User-friendly doesn't begin to describe this baby.
What are the cons, though?
For such an amazingly cool product, the opening animation is really slow, clunky, and boring.
Boo. Well, we should also try Hodge and Podge, the Incredible Machine series, and of course, their hated Lemmings. All right, let's go to Marco Polo.
It's possible to actually learn something while playing a game.
No.
Case in point being Marco Polo, a new release from iMotion.
Oddly enough, you don't get to play Marco himself, but you set out to follow in his footsteps. You travel all over the Eastern world, trading in commodities such as sugar, silk, jewels,
Yeah,
and
they're
weapons.
talking a lot
Along the
about
way, I
Hodge
was
and
even
Podge.
presented with missions that I could take on from folks like Kublai Khan, the Pope, and various other characters.
The basic premise of Marco Polo is not much different from other trading adventure games. You travel from town to town buying something here and selling it there, hopefully for a profit.
I had fun in that instead of just selling at a set price, I could actually haggle with the other buyers and sellers. And while I bargained over prices, a digitized voice would talk to me, telling me how I was buying such great stuff while driving him out of business by not paying enough.
What was irritating about this was the fact that the voice was the same for every vendor at every city, and that he said the same few phrases over and over again.
While you crisscross the Orient in search of the American dream, you have to worry about things other than trading your commodities, like having enough food on your trips.
Don't worry though, the game won't let you take off into the desert if you don't have enough food to make it.
You also have to make sure that you have enough people and camels to carry around all of this stuff you're buying. Then there's the little issue of protection.
You know what? I found that while I was tromping through the desert with a whole lot of rare, valuable stuff, there are some unscrupulous rogues who want to take it from me.
No.
Yes, and they didn't even offer to pay.
I can't believe it. What did you do?
I bought a whole bunch of guys with big muzzles and sharp swords is what I did. You can buy knights, lancers, and archers to protect your caravan. You can even decide how you want your bodyguards arranged around your traveling Walmart.
The main thing that really set Marco Polo apart from other games of its type is the graphic quality involved. Movie clips are put to good use in scenes showing your troop traveling from city to city and meeting people all along the way.
I really liked the still shots that were used throughout. Real photographs give a slideshow feel to certain parts of the game, like when you're assigned missions. The art design for this game is very impressive as well.
You're not kidding. Everything, especially the map, has been very well drawn. It really gives it atmosphere, the same feeling of mysterious exploration that was found in the Jungle Book.
I don't want to leave out the audio features, which were very impressive. Playing all throughout Marco Polo is an original soundtrack of authentic sounding music that you might hear on the market streets in 13th century Asia.
It's not just MIDI through the sound card either. This is CD quality stuff that's really a lot of fun to listen to. I'm not the biggest fan of Eastern world music, but the designers picked some good stuff to include.
I do have to say, however, that Marco Polo is probably more suited for younger people. Adults may get bored with it after a while since there are other packages available with more depth.
Now that's not to say that this is for little children. It's kinda hard to get started without running out of money right away. It's just that the easy point-and-click interface and the straightforward, attractive design of the game make this more suited for kids than other games. Along with the little historical bits dropped all through the game, there's a documentary on Marco Polo and his travels. It's broken up into different subjects that can be accessed individually, or you can just view all of the parts one right after the other.
The neat thing about this documentary is that it used lots of pictures and a great narration to go along with it. Before I knew it, I had watched the complete documentary and even enjoyed it, and I'm not a big history buff.
Marco Polo's blend of gameplay and history works extremely well. It looks great, sounds good, and is very easy to play.
It's ideal for kids, being easy and fun to play while teaching history, although some adults may find it a little slow and boring at times. I did, however, learn more about Marco Polo in the first 20 minutes of playing Marco Polo than I had in my entire life.
It's very well done all around. It uses video about as well as any program I've run across and has a great soundtrack included.
All right, let's see the pros and the cons.
The graphics, especially the digitized video, are very impressive. The soundtrack of authentic sounding music really gives it that 13th century feel. The interface is very easy to use and the game itself is easy to play. Kids may find it difficult to succeed in, while some adults may find it slow and redundant.
We should also try High Seats Trader and First Encounters. Done and done. Next up, MC Hidden Worlds.
Late last year, Bullfrog and Electronic Arts redefined the first-person flight game with the astounding Magic Carpet. Like previous Bullfrog games, Populous and Syndicate, Magic Carpet had more than its share of worlds to conquer. But if you fancy yourself a smug, cynical Magic Carpet master, try your hand at its add-on campaign, Hidden Worlds. You'd better be as good as you think you are because the lesson in humility starts now. Hidden Worlds features another 40 lands to tame. Once again, your quest is to restore the magical balance of each world, all the while contending with nasty monsters and fanatical computer-controlled wizards. In a break from the arid landscapes of the core game, Hidden Worlds is set entirely in Arctic terrain. Although beautiful, the landscapes are riddled with the most dangerous foes any turban-wearing carpet rider has ever had to deal with. The foes you will face are plentiful and powerful. Monsters roam the countryside in packs, and one stray shot can get the whole herd howling for your blood. Your rival wizards are much smarter as well, and love nothing more than reducing your castle to ruins. To help defend yourself and your property, there is one new spell to obtain. The Homing Meteorite spell may need a lot of mana to cast, but its destructive power is unprecedented. If you're a casual Magic Carpet player, this is one add-on you should avoid. Hidden Worlds is geared specifically for the player who has beaten Magic Carpet and is currently seeking out a more challenging existence. For those people, Hidden Worlds is exactly what the doctor ordered. It's 40 worlds of Arctic mayhem that will have seasoned Magic Carpet veterans begging for mercy.
Okay.
Do you
No,
remember?
no. We don't care. We want to know more about Empty Hidden Worlds, buddy.
Wait.
Pros.
Any product that extends the life of Magic Carpet is always welcome. Hidden Worlds should provide just the right difficulty level for the player who has beaten Magic Carpet.
And the cons.
Although the Arctic motif is certainly pleasing to the eye, the abundant use of white can make some things difficult to see, like the dotted white line in your radar display that leads you back to your castle.
See the, also try Magic Carpet, Doom 2, and Populous. Okay. Mech Warrior 2 preview.
Do you remember where you were the first time you heard of Mech Warrior 2? Don't sprain anything trying to answer that, because the future is what's important here. Mech Warrior 2 is back on track, and Activision is now announcing that it will finally reach store shelves in July. This July. We recently spoke to project director John Spinelli and producer Josh Resnick, who brought us up to date on this long-awaited game. You've probably been wondering why Mech Warrior 2 has taken so long. Director John Spinelli says that new blood in the design team has given the project more momentum.
What we've done basically is we've tightened up the production team. We got some very high-end guys to come in and bolster the existing team. We added a lot of new production expertise from various areas around the company and focused the scope of the design.
He's back in the helicopter with everyone else.
This is within the past, say, 6 months.
One of the problems the team ran into is in trying to get the game to perform well on the low-end system of the time, the 386. No way! Now technology has caught up to the lofty goals the game designers set for themselves.
The management on the team right now has been on this project for about 6 months. The project had been going on for quite some time, but lacked a little focus, and that's basically where several things contributed to the long delay. It was lack of focus in the actual design. They were very, very ambitious in what they were trying to do, and partially the technology prevented them from achieving those ambitions. Right now, the systems are getting powerful enough to be able to do what the original team set out to do. Also, the new management team has put it together so that we'll be able to actually get it all together and ship it.
One feature of Mech Warrior 2 that you won't see in other games of its type is the 3D virtual cockpit. Instead of just a two-dimensional graphic overlay, your cockpit is an actual physical part of the world.
We have what's called a 3D virtual cockpit. And this is your cockpit is actually a 3D object in the world. And before the game had a 2D bitmap of a cockpit, which is fairly standard for these types of games. And we are confident that our new virtual cockpit immerses the player much better in the gameplay than a 2D. This is something that you have a free eye point, and you can look around your cockpit, and you have a heads-up display that allows you to send commands to your star mates and fire off your weapons and do other things like that.
In Mech Warrior 2, you fight for one of two available clans, Jade Falcon or Wolf. Like the other elements of the game, the clans have a full, rich history detailed thoroughly in the FASA universe.
Several groups of people split off from the planet Earth a while ago.
Unless they're evil, and then I hate that eagle.
Situations going on there at the time. They formed their own societies with their own rules of honor and different societal structures than those on Earth. They became known as the clans, and that's where we pick up. The BattleTech universe has loads and loads of information on the clans, what they're all about, why each one is unique, yet why the clans are so different than the inhabitants of the planet Earth.
The clans have a long history of political turmoil. Mech Warrior 2
the
is
Mech
set
Warrior
in a crucial
cartoon?
time period.
Okay, I
the
gotta
clans
check that
waging
out.
interplanetary war against each other.
For lack of a better word, there's a tension between the clans who left Earth and those who remained behind, what is termed as the inner sphere. And they came together for this very important battle on a planet called Takayid. And this is after this battle is where we take up with the clans again. The clans agreed, after losing at that battle, they agreed not to invade the inner sphere space for 15 years. And it's those 15 years that we're focusing on in the game, where the clans turn on each other.
You will get to pilot 14 different mechs in the game. As you've probably noticed, they all look great. And
they do look good.
This one is based on its FOSSA-approved or BattleTech design style. We've got tall, skinny ones that are very spidery looking, called a Marauder, and we've got short, squat ones that are built for staying low to the ground. Each has their own pluses and minuses, which were very well designed in the original game. Some are fast and sleek, but aren't packed with a lot of weapons. Other ones are totally weapon-laden, but are particularly slow or build up lots of heat quickly.
It looks like MechWarrior 2 will finally happen, and without compromises. It may have
Finally.
taken a while, but we've been assured that it will be well worth the wait. And to top it off, Activision is working on adding 8-player network support to the game's 2-player modem feature. 8 players, drool until July, but remember that the wait is almost over.
Josh Resnick runs a luxury candy boutique. Okay. All right, we are in the home stretch. It is time for, did I skip anything? No, good. It's time for Millennia.
Millennia from Take-Two is a time-traveling strategy game in which you have gotten drawn into an alternate galaxy in which an evil race called the Microids have driven 4 other friendly races to extinction. Your mission is to affect the history of this alternate galaxy in a way which will help the friendly races from becoming extinct. The races progress technologically at a certain rate, but you can help them along by introducing inventions at different points in their timeline. Through this method, you might be able to introduce a wheel to a race which leads them to inventing the car faster than they normally would have. This in turn leads to further inventions, some of which will hopefully fend off the Microids. Play is a mix of live action and strategy as the player flies around in the galaxy timeline, gaining inventions from one race and giving them to another. You can't simply get advanced weapons from an advanced race and give them to Neanderthal Bob of another race. He'd be clueless what to do with it. You have to ease the races along faster than they'd go normally. All this would seem simple enough if it weren't for a few small details. The Microids will be attempting to stop you, as will some other time travelers from a mysterious 5th dimension. Some races will also decide that they can do things better than you and decide to turn against you. While mostly a strategy game, Millennia runs in real time, and you'll be defending your ship in arcade-style action sequences. There's also lots of other stuff you have to concern yourself with besides getting the timelines correct. As you go backward and forward through time, you have to worry about refueling your ship by drawing off fuel from gaseous planets. You have to deal with the representatives from all of the races to keep them happy, and sometimes you have to threaten and attack the races to keep them in line. When the Microids are driven off, you are then faced with a new goal. The races will eventually develop the ability to expand to other planets, and when that happens, it turns into all-out warfare again. So you have to gather the equipment that will help you escape the galaxy. The equipment requires a lot of resources, which means you'll probably have to help the races farther advance in order to get these items built, all the while trying to stay alive in the middle of this war. The look and sound of the game should be quite impressive. An extensive amount of animation is being used for all of the combat sequences, the different types of weaponry, and the different parts of your ship, including your onboard computer companion, Angus. There are special musical sequences to discover, and the planetary representatives will communicate with you through digitized video.
They will be represented by live actors who are wearing latex masks that the artist in England, his name is Saul Marchese, has taken a lot of time to develop and create. So essentially, it's sort of a neck-up view of the alien talking, and it will be in its own tongue.
With an original concept that's easy to understand but difficult to execute, it looks to be in the same vein as Master of Orion and SimCity 2000. If you like strategy games mixed in with action and adventure, be sure to check out Millennia when it's released in September of '95.
Okay, what about Perfect General 2?
The Perfect General 2 from QQP is like the original, a hex-style war game that... Hey, where are you going?
I'm leaving. If this is going to be another war game that takes 3 hours just to learn what buttons to push, and then I have to memorize the entire catalog of military weaponry just to know what kills what, I'm out of here.
Hold on. This is the Perfect General 2 from QQP, the folks who brought us the Perfect General.
I like this
so
guy.
sit down
I like.
and relax. I
Oh,
think
no,
you'll dig
come
this.
back.
Besides, you don't get paid for this if you leave.
Hey now, did I say I was going anywhere?
Like the original, the Perfect General 2 is a hex-style board game with a basic variety of tanks, artillery, and ground troops.
Is that an airplane? There weren't airplanes in the first Perfect General.
Yep. The game is pretty much the same as the first with a few minor tweaks and adjustments, all for the better. But when it comes right down to it, this is a move-and-shoot war game.
That does sound simple enough.
Instead of
That's
calling
because
them
it is. It's a
hex-based,
very
we should
simple
call
game to
them
learn and play.
gushers-based
The real
because of the
complexity
gusher-type
is in
shape of
winning.
the hex.
Once you choose whether to play a pre-designed battlefield or an actual war campaign, you start out with a number of buy points that are used to purchase your units.
Hold on. The buying menu says things like medium tank and machine gun. You mean there's not things like a Q-945678892 tank and a P-86784 style machine gun they have to learn about before you know if you want to buy it?
Not at all. The Perfect General 2 calls a tank and a plane a plane. They keep the units basic and straightforward.
Whoa. Are you sure this is a war game for the PC in the 90s? It's too
Gushers
much
are
like
so
a
good.
real game.
Once you buy your weapons, mines, and fortifications, you set your forces up however
Good
you want in
goblins.
the areas that you control.
So I actually get to choose my own weaponry and place it wherever I want instead of the computer setting up everything for me? I feel so grown up all of a sudden.
The graphics are well done, and your pieces are animated as they move from hex to hex. But if you don't like the animations, you can just turn them off. You can even set the delay time for moving from hex to hex. Now that I think about it, you get to decide just about every aspect about how this game plays.
Vagrant
I'll be
Wastrel, go
darned.
get a gusher.
I'm choosing how fast the computer
I am not
plays to
sponsored
how
by
fast your
gushers,
forces
but I
move.
think we should
It's
make
all
this the trend.
customizable. But wait, I feel as though, yes, I sense something's wrong. I feel a disturbance in the Force.
Oh, young Jedi, if one wishes to be nitpicky about these things.
Please, nitpick master. I love it when you pick nit.
When you're moving your units, each has a certain amount of fuel for the turn. The different types of terrain take a certain amount of fuel to travel over, which means the range is different depending on the terrain.
Most every hex-style game is like that.
Yes, but when you choose the unit you want to move, there are no immediate range finders. You can right-click on the mouse to see how much fuel any destination requires, but there's no way to see all of the options at once.
Well, at least they've added the ability to find the range with the click of a button.
Like I said, it's a small thing wanting to see where I can and can't move at a glance, but it would have been nice. Firing is the same deal. When you choose your unit to fire, there is no indication of all the enemy units that are in range, except for the artillery, which does show you what units are in range, but artillery's it.
Oh boy, so you go around clicking on all of the enemy units that you suppose are in range just to see whether you can fire at them or not.
The game lets you cycle through all the available targets with the spacebar, but again, it would have been nice to see all of the available targets at once. Outside of those couple of things, the Perfect General 2 is, perfect.
Yeah, it's like chess in that you have a small number of basic pieces. It's easy to move around.
Every
easy to
time I
learn.
want to do,
It's a
I love
strategy
that
of the
guy.
interactions
I
with
love
units
that
that makes
guy.
it
I want him
complex.
back.
You can put your brain power into winning instead of trying to learn which airplane can carry the most bombs at a certain speed. When playing the Perfect General 2, you can really tell that this was designed by folks who know how to make a game that's fun and not so detail-oriented that it takes the enjoyment away. If you want a strategy game that's not worried about historic details and muzzle velocities, this is one to definitely check out. Now, aren't you glad you stayed?
You're not kidding. The Perfect General 2 is excellent. I'm keeping it on my hard drive for a while. But one more thing, I still get paid for this, right?
All right, let's do the pros and cons here. Pros.
Easy to learn, difficult to master. It's not too detail intensive, but it never falls into the category of simplistic. It's simply fun, fun, fun.
And the cons.
The screen doesn't show movement ranges of individual units all at once, nor does it show all the units that you can fire at, forcing you to cycle through all the enemy units in the area to see if they can be targeted.
We should also try Panzer General, Frontlines, and the Pure War game. Done and done. All right, we did the Primal Rage review. Let's do Ravenloft, Stone Prophet.
I've got to admit, sequels are my least favorite kind of game to review, especially when they barely improve on the original at all. What are we supposed to talk about?
I know what you mean. I didn't really enjoy the first Ravenloft anyway. and there are plenty of things I would have rather done than play this one. I'm happy to report, though, that this is simply a better game than its predecessor, and it actually had me hooked for a while.
Nobody can generate more revenue out of one game interface than SSI. Stone Prophet is the third game to use their new 3D real-time adventure system.
It's not exactly the same system used in the previous two, though. A few minor adjustments have been made to allow for flying during combat and some other things. Movement can be a pain, especially if you're used to Doom like I am. The left and right arrows on the keyboard are assigned to strafe automatically. To actually turn your body, you have to use the diagonal north keys, 7 and 9. Ig.
Before you move anywhere, though, you should know where you're going. In Stone Prophet, you must stop the spirit of the evil former pharaoh Ankhtapat, who enlisted the services of the sun god Ra to slay those who opposed him.
He's back with a vengeance, and getting rid of him won't be easy. Stone Prophet throws monsters and puzzles at you from all directions, so by the time you get to Ankhtapat, you'll be a seasoned veteran of the Ravenloft world. Maybe I should say, if you get to it. You don't get a whole lot to work with. Stone Prophet starts you off with 2 characters of level 5 or thereabouts. The character creation system is fun to use and incorporates a lot of animation and speech, if you have the patience.
Like other recent SSI RPGs, Stone Prophet lets you edit character attributes to your heart's content. I can't really make up my mind whether this is cheating or not, seeing as that even my Superman characters didn't last me too long. The portraits are beautifully drawn, and you're bound to find a face that suits your character. Harakir, the real name of the Ravenloft world, is mostly desert. This is your typical walking outside screenshot.
Unlike Strahd's Possession, which annoyed the hell out of me with its subpar, dark, pixelated graphics, Stone Prophet's graphics are nice and colorful, especially in the daytime.
Yeah, they do seem nicer. In fact, the artwork is pretty impressive throughout the game. Stone Prophet uses a 320 by 400 graphics engine, which puts twice as many pixels on the screen and thus allows for much more detail. Nice touch.
This here is a vulture, which will eat your head, unless you swing at him repeatedly. Like the rest of the game, combat is real-time.
Melee combat is pretty simple. You just click on a weapon icon over and over. Magic is a little tougher because it involves the use of your spellbook, but it's definitely easier than it was in the first Ravenloft game. The new spell management system is another nice touch. I think my biggest complaint about the first Ravenloft was the inventory system. It looked pretty cool, but required too much button clicking.
No visible changes have been made to the system, unfortunately. Some of the items are still unrecognizable, and you still need to use both mouse buttons. Another ick.
There are some other neat innovations in the Ravenloft engine worth mentioning, though I wonder if they have any practical use. The full-screen dialogue system is laid out nicely and gives you the option of printing your conversation. Why? Anyone?
There's also the auto map, which is navigated
I do
via
like the
a button
idea
bar,
of printing
so complex that
convos
it
from
makes
your
my
video
all-in-one
game.
remote control look simple. You can print the map, but you can also pop any map onto the screen at any time.
Chat, I have
Save
a
your
secret to
printers for book
confess.
I think that covers it.
When
I
we
hope
got
we've
the
actually
internet,
said something during
I
these
didn't
past
have a
few
computer in
minutes.
my
Here's
room,
bottom line, folks.
and I wanted
Stone
to
Prophet
read
is
the internet
basically
at
another
night
SSI
before I
RPG.
went to bed.
Like
So
most SSI RPGs, it's above average in most
when my
respects.
parents were
One or
asleep,
two
I would
large
print out
flaws keep it from
web
being a superb
pages
game,
and read
so
them.
You will or won't like it depending on how well you
I
can
did that with
overlook those
Wikipedia
flaws.
We'll probably
pages.
keep playing it, and if you've gotten this far into the review,
I would
you
just
should
like print
probably
out
try
10
it out, too.
pages and just read it before bed. It was so fucking stupid. I don't know why I did that. Let's check out the pros and cons.
SSI makes good
You
games.
did the same
Not
thing?
great
Yes.
ones, but
Okay,
good
it's not
ones.
just me.
This game is no exception. The storyline is rich and
You do that with
detailed,
Game
the
Facts?
puzzles are
Yeah,
difficult,
okay.
And the graphics are simply gorgeous at times. Save game descriptions can contain several words to help in organization.
Oh, I wasted so much ink.
Since Stone Prophet is a quality
Oh my
game,
God, so
the worst
many
thing I
people
can say
printed
about
out
it is that
pages.
it's
I'm so
nothing new.
happy.
Only the storyline and the landscape differentiate this game from the first
I used to
Ravenloft.
print out the
movement
internet
arrow
and
icons have got to go also. They can be confusing if
at
you're
the
used to
community
Doom-style
college too.
controls.
They didn't care as much. I kind of got in trouble because I'd be printing out too many pages. Fair enough. Did the library? Good. Okay. The other, not the cons. We already did that. The other games to try are Lands of Lore, Menzo, Baranzan, and Elder Scrolls. Okay, we could try that. We could also do other things. Let's do Royal Flush.
Amtex
fuck?
has once again produced a PC pinball game of
The
remarkable
fuck?
quality with Royal Flush.
Gottlieb,
This is the second
get
in a
outta
line
here.
of classic pinball tables released by Amtex. More than just an arcade game, Royal Flush is a full-featured simulation, an exact replica of the 1976 Gottlieb machine that reigned supreme in pinball arcades nearly 2 decades ago. Royal Flush is a good example of the design skill that went into classic pinball games. Tables that needed to rely on solid play value instead of high-tech gimmicks. Your main scoring goal in Royal Flush is to take out this prominent bank of targets, each of which is decorated with a different playing card. At the end of the ball, you're awarded points for the different poker hands you scored off the drop targets. As has become traditional, Amtex lets you customize
True, my parents
virtually
didn't use the
every
printer very
nuance of
much
the
at
game.
all.
The angle of the table, number of balls, bumper and flipper strength, it's all waiting behind the back glass for you to tinker with. Royal Flush also lets you set the game's resolution from 320 by 200
print out map
up
quest.
to 1024 by
God.
768.
Y'all don't know about
allowing
printing
you to
out
play the
map.
game
Well,
in a
maybe you do. You
scrolling view
probably
mode
do.
Or in stationary full table mode. Royal Flush really is a flawless pinball simulation. Keep in mind that
You know
the
what?
game
I'll
being
do it.
reproduced
I'll
is
do a
nearly
gesture
20
just for
years
you.
old, so some
Fiddly
players may find
poker.
the
Look
game's
here,
solid
it's a
state feel a little
Joker.
odd,
There you go.
But it's a mirror image of the actual machine's feel. When you're in the mood to play pinball the way it used to be played, long before Space Invaders or even Pong reared their electronic heads,
print out map
Royal
quest
Flush
age.
simply can't be beat.
God, that was so good. We should do that again. Just waste paper.
Amtex has...
All right, let's check out the pros and cons of Royal Flush.
Royal Flush is a perfect translation of a real-life pinball classic to the PC. The graphics are great, the sound's outstanding, and the solid-state feel is dead-on exact.
And the cons.
The only negative thing I can say about Royal Flush is that there should be an option to install the whole game to your hard drive to shorten the load time.
Okay.
That's nitpicking in the extreme, but they made me say it.
We should also try 8-Ball Deluxe, which we also saw in this issue, Crystal, Caliburn, and Tristan. Tristan is just some guy. We're just going to see Tristan, just hang out with Tristan. All right, let's check out Shanghai. Great moments.
The ancient oriental game of Mahjong has established a strong following on the PC. It's been around in shareware form since the early
printing
days
out
of
MST3K
EGA,
fan
and now
sites.
it's entered the multimedia age with Activision's excellent new game,
That is, as they say,
Shanghai
the
Great
juice.
Moments.
That's the
This is the
mangonada.
third Shanghai game for the PC, and they just keep getting better. As always, the basic game of Mahjong stays the same, but Activision has loaded this new version with enough graphic splendor to entice a whole new generation of gamers.
Your hostess for Great Moments is Rosalind Chow, whom you may know from the Joy Luck Club and from her recurring roles in MASH and Star Trek The Next Generation, not to mention Deep Space Nine. Here she flies in the face of multimedia conventions by actually being a fun part of the game.
Most multimedia games are exercises in nepotism. Commonly, the starring role goes to the producer's sister's husband's dim-witted cousin. It's great to see a company hire actual acting talent for a change.
Once you start a game, Rosalind turns into an unobtrusive icon in the corner. She'll just sit there and not get in your way unless you need help. Just click on her to pop up a help screen.
Just click on the correct side of the picture
This
to
isn't
get the
the
advice you're looking
ancient
for.
game
Pretty
of
simple, huh?
Mahjong?
This is the type
This
of
isn't
help
the ancient
system all other
Mahjong game you
multimedia
remember?
programs should aspire to. Flashy, yet unobtrusive.
Most PC
Do you hear that
Mahjong
it's
games
this
let you
game is
create
so
your own
ancient.
tiles. You can't do that with Hidden
Great Moments in Space
but the 9
Exploration,
included
very
tile
ancient.
Sets put all other Mahjong games to shame. There's a set for every interest here.
Each tile set has a specific theme, ranging from classic Mahjong tiles to space exploration, to art, to historic events. When you match a pair of tiles, you get a brief but pleasant animation. Some of the tiles even play back a little bit of digitized video.
Each tile set has a few background pictures you gradually uncover as you remove pairs of tiles. Graphically, these are a mixed bag. Some of them are beautiful high-res pictures, while some are a little on the grainy and pixelated side.
If you succeed in removing the entire layout, you're treated to some digitized video that matches the tile set's theme. Like the backgrounds, some of these are very high quality while others are decidedly mediocre.
In addition to the 9 tile sets, Great Moments also includes 13 different tile layouts. This brings some much-needed variety to the gameplay, as the different layouts call for different strategies.
There's a layout for every skill level. Novices will gravitate towards layouts like Castle with its large amount of open tiles, while the expert player will find no shortage of real brain tweezers.
There are also some variations.
Did he
on the
mean to
classic
say
game
brain
of Mahjong.
teasers and say
Action
brain
Mahjong
tweezers?
challenges you to eliminate a half-sized layout, while the computer adds extra tiles every few seconds to thwart you.
Great Wall adds the challenge of gravity. When support is removed from under a tile, it drops down your screen until it hits another tile. And Beijing is a very tricky variant that lets you slide rows and columns of tiles like a sliding puzzle game to make matches.
If you're a Mahjong enthusiast, Shanghai Great Moments is an absolute must-have. The tile sets are gorgeous, the animations are beautiful, and Rosalind Chow is a charming hostess. You'll never get anything done with this on your Windows
it's
desktop.
Nixon.
Great
Yeah,
Moments
get
is
this,
sure to
get his
attract a
ass.
new horde of Mahjong fans. It's
Yeah,
a
match
stylish
that man
package
away.
with addictive gameplay and layer upon layer of
Oh,
bells
you don't
and
want to
whistles.
play Mahjong with
Strategy
nukes?
fans
You don't
and
want to
time
play with
wasters alike
atom
will flock
bombs?
to it.
All right, let's check the pros and cons here.
The graphics and sounds are great. Mahjong tiles have never looked so good. The layouts offer a good diversity of challenges, and the game variations of Great Wall and Beijing sport all new challenges. The online help system featuring actress Rosalind Chow is an example for other multimedia products to pick up on.
Cons, please.
Although you would miss out on the animations, it would be nice to be able to create your own tiles. And in some cases, the backgrounds and digitized video clips aren't as pretty as the rest of the game.
Should also try Shanghai 2 Dragon's Eye, VGA Mahjong, which is shareware, and Ishido. Way of the Stones. Way of the Stones, huh? All right, time for Tank Commander.
When I first saw Tank Commander, I thought it was going to
10
be
pages
just an
for
updated version
Domark.
of
10 whole
Battlezone.
pages for
Feeling
another
didn't go
Domark
away when I
title.
played it.
But who cares?
They
When
love
it's done
their
this well,
Domark.
imitation
They
isn't
want to
a bad
kiss
thing.
Domark
Once I
straight on
started
the
playing the game
mouth.
more and more, I found there's a lot to like. Just get used to being blown up, though, because you will be
Not
blown
me.
up
I
a
like
lot.
Domark
Keep
in
in
normal
mind
amount.
that Tank Commander is not a tank simulation. It's more of an arcade-style game based on modern technology. You're put in a tank armed with a machine gun, normal, high-explosive, and armor-piercing shells, guided missiles, a flamethrower, and mine-killer devices.
I did discover one problem in trying to use all these explosive devices. While you can control the tank through the keyboard or both the keyboard and a joystick, if you try to use a joystick alone, you're only able to move and fire. You can't control the turret or choose weapons from the joystick, so what's the use? It's just as well to use the keyboard. You can, however, assign tank functions to any key you want, so that makes it a little easier.
Tank Commander's missions put you in charge of anywhere from 1 to 4 tanks. Sometimes it seems these tanks are just available for when you get blown up. And you will get blown up a lot. However, if you lose one tank, you can continue with another if there's one available.
Some missions require you to use
The
your
men who
tanks
set
for
up
different
Domark were
purposes
called
and in
Dominic and
different parts of
Mark.
the
They would
combat
appear
area.
in 80s
Strategy
UK
becomes
game
very
mags and
important when using
photos,
more than one
wearing
tank in
suits with
missions.
bow ties. Suits
One
with
added
bow
weapon you have
ties.
is calling in airstrikes. When you get
All
low
right, I'm
on
gonna click
strength
on the
and
VJ
Bob the enemy
Mahjong
comes
tile
bearing
sets.
down
Hold
on
on,
you
I
in
wanna
a
see
really
that.
big tank with a really big gun, you can call in air support before you get blown up.
Oh, this
and you will
one,
a lot.
yeah.
The A-10 Thunderbolt will come
the
swooping
chicken
down,
noodle
destroying
soup. That's
everything
so
in your
difficult.
immediate area. Just make sure that there aren't any buildings or friendly forces in the target zone when the airstrike cometh, because everything in sight gets wasted.
With tank games, one of the most difficult things to do is drive in one direction and fire in another. Tank Commander makes
Am I
this
more
a
of a
little
Dominic
easier with
or
its
a
map
Mark?
system.
I really dug this. All you have to do is mark on the
I
map
think I'm
where
more
you
of a
want the
Mark
tank to
in
drive
general.
to, and off it goes, letting you do lots of shooting.
Tank Commander automatically
I couldn't
plots
pull
the
off being a
quickest course to
Dominic.
the marked point so it won't try to drive through trees or over mountains.
But that means that just when you get a bead on the bad guy, the tank is liable to make a hard right to avoid a mountain or something, taking your gun with it. It's difficult to fight like this, but it does get easier with practice. But not before you get blown up. A lot.
There are different scenarios ranging from the desert to frozen wastelands, and within each of those scenarios are submissions, smaller goals to accomplish on the way to the big objective.
Tank Commander saves your game at the last completed submission instead of letting you save whenever you want. The submissions weren't overly long, so when you get destroyed in the middle of a mission, you won't feel like you just lost a week's worth of work.
The game looks and feels very much like an arcade game. The tanks and objects don't have the detail found in something like Armored Fist, but they do move very smoothly in 3D. There is an option to turn detail to high, which adds more texture to the landscape, but that definitely slows the computer down.
I was using a Pentium 60, and high detail really made my system run choppy. When I switched to lower detail, it ran super smooth, but the ground and the mountains don't look as good.
You may find that when the missions say beginner, they simply mean that you're a beginner at Tank Commander, and not necessarily a beginner at video games.
Some of these missions are just plain hard. I finally got through the beginner scenario, but I can barely make it through the first stage of any of the other scenarios.
It simply takes lots and lots and lots of practice. Just get used to getting blown up.
'Cause you will be blown up. A lot.
Tank Commander has the ability to play over the modem or network, and this is where it really started to shine.
Unlike Doom, when multiple players are in Tank Commander, the object isn't to kill each other as much as possible, but to capture all of the flags in the area.
There are 4 flags, each a different color, that you must retrieve and bring back to your home base. The trouble is, if you get shot, even if you don't get blown up, you still drop a flag.
And in a neat twist on multiplayer shoot-'em-ups, Tank Commander doesn't keep track of how many times you've killed the other players, but how many times you've been blown up yourself. And you will be a lot. Tank Commander may owe a lot to Battlezone, but it's one darn good advanced version of it. It's gritted teeth, explosion-packed, run-and-gun fun.
Just expect an arcade game instead of a simulation and you'll be happy. The graphics aren't super detailed, but what is done graphically is done very well.
Tank Commander will really satisfy that part of you that doesn't care about making things as real as possible, but just wants to know where to find the enemy and where the fire button is.
All right, let's see the pros and the cons here. 1 second. What? Hello? Sorry, my desktop went crazy. All right. I think it's fixed itself. All right, that was Tank Commander. Did I do the pros and the cons? No, I didn't do that pros.
Great gameplay makes Tank Commander a hit. It proves that it doesn't have to be the most graphically advanced game to be fun. Capture the Flag is about as much fun as I've had in a multiplayer game since Doom first came out.
And the cons?
For folks who loved super advanced graphics, Tank Commander will come up a little short. Also, more attention should have been put into making it more friendly with different types of joysticks.
Should also try Armored Fist, Microsoft Arcade for Windows, Battlezone. Done and done. All right, next up, Terra Nova.
Looking Glass Technologies is a company you'll be hearing a lot about this year. Their recent game System Shock, which they developed for Origin, has won universal critical acclaim. And their next game, Flight Unlimited, is one of the most anticipated flight games since Microsoft Flight Sim 5. As the work on Flight wraps up, they're turning their attention toward their next offering, Terra Nova. Terra Nova is a game of first-person tactical combat. It's set in a science fiction universe and focuses on the liberation of off-world colonies from their tyrannical government.
You know, it's a science fiction game in which you and your squad mates are in powered battle armor with various weapons mounted on you and go out on planets and fight the bad guys. The plot actually takes place on a different star system, on the Centauri star system.
It's our friend Dan, he's back!
You've colonized this system a while back as sort of a separate entity, and now the evil Earth government is coming and trying to annex you again, so it's a fight for your freedom.
In Terra Nova, you play the role of squad leader. To help you complete the missions, you'll have 3 squad mates at your disposal, each with their own individual skills.
One of the important things in the game is that you're commanding a squad of teammates and not just going out there by yourself. There are 4 of you, so we've put a whole lot of work into the AIs for the teammates.
Yeah, so everything used to get compared to Doom back in the day.
You're not just going off and killing everything yourself. You have to think about the high-level strategy for the entire mission. Now, all of a sudden, you know, these 2 guys over here, and this demolitions expert will go here to blow up the building and stuff like that. So that makes the game a lot more interesting, too.
You'll control your squad in real time from a first-person viewpoint. The screen is divided into displays to let you keep track of your squad and give you a good view of the terrain. For these missions, your squad will be outfitted with suits of highly mobile, powered battle armor.
From the beginning, we thought it would be neat to do a science fiction type game, and having these powered battle armor, or PBAs, gives us a lot more flexibility and fun than just like going around in tanks or whatever. It's really neat to go around and watch people actually walking around and dealing with them as humans rather than as, you know, these impersonal beings in tanks or whatever.
The missions in Terra Nova will be connected by rendered cutscenes. These scenes advance the plot and let you get to know your squad members. Unlike games like Origin's Wing Commander series that use similar methods, Terra Nova will feature sequential missions instead of a branching storyline. The reason for this is that Looking Glass wants the player to see everything in the game, which is much harder to do with branching plots. One of the most striking elements of Terra Nova is the landscapes you'll play through. The smooth scrolling evokes memories of Comanche Maximum Overkill, and the ground detail smacks of Magic Carpet.
What we're able to do is give texture map realism and detail up close to the player while still able to render a very large area. For example, you know, we're rendering all the way out in the distance to show mountains, but you can really walk right up to those mountains and it'll be rendered in the same detail as the stuff right next to you when you get there. It's not like a backdrop or anything. It looks really good.
To create the movement of your squad members, Looking Glass will turn to their resident physicist, Seamus Blackley. While many games use rotoscoping or digital motion capture, The animation in Terra Nova will all be done on the fly using realistic physics models.
It's all algorithmic, and what happens is, at runtime, if someone wants to move forward, we give him a force forward, and he will naturally want to put his foot forward to keep his balance, and then his foot will hit the ground, and the ground will transmit a force through his foot to the rest of his body, and his body will adjust, and he'll keep on doing that over and over again as he walks. And when you do that over many frames, you get a person walking and actually reacting to the terrain. It looks really neat.
With Terra Nova, Looking Glass seems poised to reinvent the tactical squad combat game. The landscapes are already among the best in the industry, and the character animation promises to match it. With a healthy dose of strategy, realistic multi-soldier tactics, and all the first-person combat action you can handle, expect Terra Nova to be a surgical strike of epic proportions.
Okay, surgical strike of epic proportions. Okay, we saw the Warcraft 2 preview. I think we're on Third Reich here.
Avalon Hill has been bringing many of their classic board games to the PC, and the latest to make the leap is Third Reich, a game of World War II strategy. Included will be 4 scenarios featuring 1939, 1942, 1944, and the full 1939 through 45 campaign. The unique feature of Third Reich is the emphasis on financial management over combat tactics. Resources are represented by the Basic Resource Point, or BRP, which is the lifeblood of any army in Third Reich. Instead of food and money,
you don't have to
the
look at
BRP
all
represents
these.
the ability
Listen,
to feed and pay
I'm
troops,
being a
declare war,
completionist.
and basically perform any action in the game. At
Is
the
this
beginning of
Domark?
each
I
turn,
missed that. If
countries
this is
get an income
Domark,
of
this has a
BRPs,
stink of
along with a
Domark to
percentage
me.
of any BRPs
Listen, we
saved
got
from
to know
previous
about all
years.
of the war
Any countries
strategy
that you have
games.
conquered
If we
give you
don't
a
know about
number
all
of
the war
BRPs,
strategy
and a growth rate
games,
is also factored in.
Avalon Hill.
Third Reich really
Sorry,
becomes
Avalon
war
Hill
for the
and
business
Domark
person.
are the
If you
same
want
to me.
declare
I'm
war on a
sorry.
country,
I'm
you must pay
sorry.
a
I'm
number of
sorry. I'm not
BRPs,
smart.
and the bigger
I know
the country,
it.
the more expensive it
I'm
is.
dumb as dirt.
For example, declaring war on Germany requires more BRPs than a smaller country like Belgium. So you not only have to be ready militarily for a fight, but also financially. Third Reich takes place on 3 fronts, Western, Eastern, and the Mediterranean, and play occurs on hex board divided into turns, with one small twist. The side with the most BRPs at the beginning of a turn gets to go first. So if your side goes second in one turn and then gets rich, they get to go first on the next turn, thus giving you the ability to go twice in a row. Beginning an offensive on any front also requires an investment of BRPs. This isn't the amount it takes to actually battle other units, but it is an amount simply to allow you to attack on that front. Once that amount is paid, it covers any fighting that you want to do. Tolls like this really make you aware of the money it takes to fight a war. The units involved are the basic conventional units in World War II: infantry, armored, air, naval, and paratroopers. When combat occurs, the outcome not only decides who wins the battle, but also how many BRPs are to be deducted from each side. An army can easily go bankrupt from attacking too often, while losing a hex may be worth it if the defender can destroy enough of the attacker's BRPs. Third Reich should translate very well to the PC. While freeing the players of all the paperwork and counter-counting, it should still retain all the fun and complexity found in the original board game. Third Reich offers a different view on war, taking the emphasis from conquering through might to conquering through profit.
Okay. Next up, Tirnanog.
If the name Tirnanog doesn't ring a bell for you, you can be forgiven, since the original game was released 10 years ago on the Spectrum computer in Europe. But if you were in the right place at the right time, you'll know that the adventure was really very popular. Those of us who are stuck on this side of the pond with our Commodore 64s will be happy to know that Psygnosis is updating this tale of Celtic lore and making it much more widely available this time. This is the story of a great hero named Cuchulainn. You couldn't ask for a nobler guy, really. He performed every heroic act he could come up with, even though he knew it would cause him to die young. And when he did die, he still felt like he hadn't done enough for the world. So he entered the afterlife realm of Tirnanog to undertake one last quest. You see, a long time ago, the great enemy was bound by the Seal of Callum, a powerful amulet. For a long, long time, life was just and good. Then one day, through the devotion of the enemy's followers and the incompetence of the guards, the seal was broken into several pieces, and the enemy was free again to roam the world, making it the unfair, miserable place we know today. Lots of people have tried to reunite the fragments of the Seal of Callum, but all have failed, declaring it an impossible task for mortal man. Cuchulainn figures he has a better chance since he's already dead. And so begins the legendary quest to restore the world to fairness and beauty. Not a bad goal, huh? If all this sounds dry as a towel and not very interesting, have no fear. While there are dark and mythic elements to the story, Cuchulainn is not your normal hero. He's something of a cut-up and can never seem to take his surroundings very seriously. This has lost him more than a few friends, but it will certainly make for a unique tone in the game.
I like the Mickey Mouse,
Back in 1985, one of the things that
Okay,
Tiernanog
hello,
was noted
sir.
for
What are
was
you
the
doing
large
here?
size of the sprites.
Yeah, why
As
is
you can
Mickey
see,
Mouse
this
there?
tradition continues in the new version. Cuchulainn is over 4 times larger than the screen characters from most adventures. Hey, a hero that impressive should be a big guy. The gameplay strikes a careful balance between hand-to-hand combat action and more subtle interactions, not to mention puzzles galore. There's a large variety of riddles, ciphers, and puns designed to keep even the most hardened game player occupied for hours. Tiernanog was a great success 10
I can't
years
wait for
ago.
this game to come
Now
out
with
and for
sharp
them to be like,
SVGA
this game
graphics,
sucks, hated
point-and-click
it, worst
interface,
game ever
and a
made.
greatly expanded game area, it's set to take on a whole new audience. Prepare for the quest's beginning this August.
Game never got released, huh? Cool. All right, it's time for Total Distortion. This
Pop
fucking
Rocket
game.
is the creation of Joe Sparks, the designer of one of the first big CD-ROM game hits, Spaceship Warlock. The San Francisco-based game company is currently putting the final touches on their debut product, Total Distortion, and there's no denying that it's going to catch people's attention. This is not just because it has flashy graphics and sound, although there's plenty of both. TD boasts some of the most bizarre game concepts ever conceived. The whole premise revolves around the existence of thousands of alternate dimensions parallel to ours. One day, a bunch of weird aliens just appeared on Earth, showing scientists how to travel between these dimensions. Now, the bulk of these dimensions are devoted to loud rock music or cartoons, leading to the theory that they were created from people dreaming the same dreams and that young people dream more
This is a
vividly.
game I've always
With
wanted to
me
get
so far?
into, but it does seem
Okay,
very
You are
inscrutable.
an enterprising young music video producer. You've inherited enough money to have an enormous media tower built and zapped to the distortion dimension, which is, naturally enough, devoted to grunge rock and heavy metal.
That's
Your
where I
plan
live.
is to edit
Real
together the
wild
funky
world
riffs and bizarre
wordplay
sights
every
you
night.
encounter
Okay.
into wicked videos, then
I
sell
like
them
that
to
face.
promoters back on Earth and make
a
huge
good
chunks
face.
of cash. Simple enough? So what could go wrong with such a simple plan? Well, the distortion dimension is populated by creatures who are not particularly happy with your manipulating their home for profit. Among the first of these you'll meet are the Guitar Warriors. You see, they serve the Metal Lord, and I'll just forget it. Let's just talk about the simple survival issues here. There's only so much food in your tower, and to get more, you've got to go back to Earth, which costs an outrageous amount of money. If you don't make a killing with this stuff, and quick, you may be stranded in an alien dimension with nothing to eat, and that doesn't even mention the Guitar Warriors. So there's the strategy element, the combat element, what have we forgotten? Oh, yeah, sleep. You heard me right. Even sleep becomes an aspect of this game. When you nod off, you have to play a few quick arcade games to determine whether you get a good night's snooze or are freaked out by nightmares. This impacts your mental energy.
I do like the
just
music.
as important as your physical energy. Then there's the interactive library, which is like Myst with a caffeine headache. Heaven knows why you'd be out looking for footage, but if you want to loaf, you can pick up a book and maybe play a game inside. If that's too strenuous, you can always listen to your soothing radio aquarium.
This is iWarp News.
This is a test of the emergency distortion broadcast. This is only a test.
Hey, it's the transmission. Hi, this Tom too. I got a lot of money. I can show you how to get a lot of money too. Order my...
Hello, Cheryl. There's a church social this Friday. I was wondering...
Rockers burn out early. Let us help you ease the transition from stage to early grave at the Gnarly Acres Retirement Home for rockers past their prime.
This has been a test of the emergency distortion broadcast. In the event of an actual emergency, you would be instructed where to shred.
And then, of course, there's the soundtrack. What would a rock and roll game be without rock and roll?
Virtuoso!
Well, there's plenty of hot rhythms and cool
I'm so
riffs as
glad
you
they
make your
hate
way from
Virtuoso.
wannabe to
It's a
Mega
hateable
Smash.
game.
There's over 60 original tunes here, so kick out the jams. There's no doubt that Total Distortion is a completely new kind of thingy, full of energy, humor, and excellent graphics and sound. Not to mention very challenging gameplay. Look for it this summer.
All right, let's do. We don't want to do that. Okay, we got one left. It's Woodruff and the Schnibble review. Chad, have you ever heard of Woodruff and the Schnibble? Please don't stop it. Stop the automated movement. Stop it. I'm in hell. I am literally in hell. I am literally in hell. Okay, I'm gonna. Please, God. There we go.
Just ask anybody on the street and they'll be happy to tell you. Excuse me, sir. Which country would you think makes the most bizarre computer games in the world?
Oh, that's easy. The French.
Absolutely right, sir.
And it goes beyond just the cultural differences between America and Europe or a language thing. There's something downright weird about the way those folks think.
Sir, we're about to review a new French game called Woodruff and the Schnibble by Cocktail Vision and Sierra. If you'd like to step in here, you can help us out.
Well, heck, why not? My bus doesn't leave for another 5 minutes. So, this is Woodruff and the Schnibble of Azimuth, is it?
Well, that depends on who you talk to, sir. The American version is just called Woodruff and the Schnibble, because the Azimuth part was silly, pointless, and distracting.
Is that guy a Schnibble?
No, that's Woodruff. He's looking for the Schnibble and for Dr. Azimuth, his adopted father.
What?
Yeah, this looks very much in the vein of Goblins.
You're going to have to play to find out. That's the whole point of the game.
I'm just guessing, but this isn't supposed to be a serious game, is it? Like Inca 2?
No, I'm sure the designers were being funny on purpose this time.
I don't like the idea of the French trying to be funny. They think Jerry Lewis is a laugh riot.
Well, there are some very funny parts to this game. There are also more than a few things thrown in that are just odd and disturbing.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Jerry Lewis a lot of the time.
Speaking of disturbing, what do you think of these graphics?
I like them.
I really don't know what to think.
They're good.
Why is Woodruff wearing a mask?
Actually, I think that's a headband which just happens to have eye holes.
Well, everything moves very smoothly. It just looks so bizarre. It's like Gary Larson crossed with Tex Avery. Wow. This interface is incredibly easy to use. Almost everything works with a single mouse click. This is amazing.
Yes, that's the good news. There's a little bit of
Chad,
bad news
did you know
about
there was
the
a
interface.
Jerry Lewis
There's
animated
no dialogue
series
choice going on. You just click on the person you want to talk to and have
from like the 70s, I think, either the 60s or the 70s. I ran into it on Archive. I haven't watched any of it, but yeah.
Oh, they are, and well acted too. The problem is that to get all of the information out of the different characters, you have to
I wish there was a
through
Jerry
the
Lewis
entire
anime.
conversation,
God.
and there's no indication how many clicks you'll need to get through.
I still don't see.
Have y'all seen the Coneheads anime by Rankin and Bass? It's pretty good.
Finished, the only way to find out is that when you
was
click
only
on
one
the
episode,
character
though.
again, you get the first lines of dialogue repeated. There's no way to click past this once you get to it, and it happens every time.
Okay, that is a little annoying. They should have either let the dialogue play through by itself, or let the player click past a segment he's already heard.
You can hardly click past anything in this game. You also can't speed up Woodruff as he slowly ambles around the screen to get where you told him to go. There's not even an option for
it's
subtitles.
filmation.
Okay,
It's so strange.
That is weird. Everyone at least gives you the choice of reading the dialogue in adventure games, but that's really the most aggravating thing about Woodruff. Actually, I find the strangeness of the gameplay kind of refreshing.
Yeah, there's a lot of different elements to keep up with. When you need some money, you can get a job,
Well,
but
maybe
you can
I
also
should play
gamble.
Woodruff
There's a
and the
magic system
Schnibble.
based on the combination of different syllables of power.
You know, that bit kind of reminded me of the runic magic system in Legends Deathgate.
Well, what about the portable TV phone thingy that lets you get the weather update whenever you want it?
Based on strange syllables again, I see.
So, what do you think of Woodruff, Mr. Random Man on the Street?
Well, no big surprise. It's very weird. But I kind of like it. It's fun to play something that makes almost no sense every now and then.
Yeah, even with the stuff that's missing from the interface, like the subtitles and the ability to skip past dialogue, this is a very easy game to figure out with a lot of challenging puzzles thrown in.
Of course they're challenging. They make no sense. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I hear my bus.
All right, let's see.
Just
the pros.
If you want to play something unpredictable, this is the one. It almost defies logic, but it works pretty well. The visuals are stunning, and the character design is disturbing. The interface is perhaps the most stripped-down point-and-click I've ever seen, short of Commander Blood.
And the cons.
When they stripped down the interface, the designers seem to have accidentally removed several player options, including skipping past dialogue and subtitling. This gets to be a pain.
We should also try Sam & Max Hit the Road, Day of the Tentacle, and of course, this issue's favorite game, Commander Blood. Such a good game, though, I gotta admit. And with that, we are fucking done. This has almost been 4 hours of streaming. So thank you all so much for showing up. Let's fucking exit and see what we're in for next issue.
That's all for this month. Thanks for joining us. Be sure and tune in again for our upcoming coverage of the first ever Electronic Entertainment Expo.
Oh, holy
the
shit.
review of the newest LucasArts adventure game, Full Throttle, and an interactive interview with the creative force behind the success of Bullfrog, Peter Molyneux.
Holy shit. Okay. Next issue is going to be a fucking banger. We got Peter Molyneux and the first D3. Holy mo. Okay. I'm really excited for the next issue. But with that, that'll be next month. Of course, we got to wait for it to arrive in the mail. But for now, let's head on out. Xena, break it down. And yeah, it was CES they went to, if I recall, last time. Not E3 yet, I don't think. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. All right, folks, let me find someone to raid here. But if you do like what I do, me and Sarduce do stream every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central. So tune in this week. We got a good one for you. We got games based on box office bombs. So that'll be good. That'll be good. I've also, let me give a few other links here. If you want to see the pre-shows that I've done for the stream, I have a list right here. Doop. And I do have a YouTube channel where I've been putting up my VODs periodically. Let me find the link to that. Where did I put that? Good. Oh, there it is. Okay, here's the link. Yeah. Follow me on YouTube as well. All right, folks, let me find someone to raid here. Let's see. How about... It's been a while. How about Enbyon? They are doing Shinobi. All right. Oh, they're a dragon today. That's a raptor of some sort. I'm not sure what creature Enbyon is today, but they look good. So yeah, let's go. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with Quest for Homosexuality Part 3. See ya, folks.